This is Atomic Shinobi and today I'm going to narrate first part of What If Naruto Becomes God of Wind. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
In the quiet village of Konoha, late at night, there was a lone figure strolling through the woods behind the Hokage monument. It was a small boy, his eyes a deep ocean blue and his hair bright blonde. After being expelled from the orphanage a month earlier, he was beginning to experience severe hunger, thirst, and most importantly, melancholy. Without any specific objective in mind, Naruto strolled through the woods, wondering why everyone on the streets was staring at him with hate and disgust. He thought, "Damn, I'm so tired, it's been 2 days since I last ate," and he recalled finding some leftovers in the trash behind the Akamichi barbecue restaurant that were still edible. Then, out of nowhere, he spots something moving between the bushes behind him. A kunai that has become embedded in the tree just an inch from his head. "There he is, guys, it's our lucky day the demon is alone in this remote place," a man stated. Naruto could hear many more footsteps approaching him, so he was not alone. Naruto asked in a terrified voice, "What do you want, mister? What am I in search of?" As the other men and women who had been with him gathered around Naruto, the man uttered, "I want my son back, you monster." "Your son? Where is he?" Naruto asked, unable to comprehend the connection between him and the man's son. "Demon, stop playing the innocent with me." The man became more and more enraged as more and more joined him. "You killed him and I'm finally going to get my revenge tonight." Subsequently, the throng parted to allow a single man to move forward. Clad in shinobi gear, Naruto was unsure of his rank. Between the people dressed like regular civilians, he began to notice that the crowd was actually made up of several of those shinobi, all of them sporting headbands with a leaf sign on them. "Please, Mr. Shinobi-san, assist me, I'm innocent, I swear, but this man wants to hurt me." Tears filled Naruto's eyes as he spoke. He never saw the man remove a kunai from his pouch and hurl it hard in his direction as he was about to say something else. Naruto was unable to speak as the kunai struck his chest, causing him to only gasp in agony. Then everything became dark. Tower of Hokage. Hiruzen Sarutobi pondered the amount of paperwork he needed to finish before turning in for the evening as he sat behind his desk. The council he had just departed from was essentially a rerun of the events that had transpired annually on that date for the previous 6 years. The ninja, the civilians, and the elders made up the 3 powers that made up the council. The various clan chiefs of Konoha's noble families made up the ninja side. From the Uchiha clan, Fugaku Uchiha; from the Hyuga clan, Hiyashi Hyuga; from the Inazuka clan, Sume Inazuka; from the Aburame clan, Shibi Aburame; from the Nara clan, Shikaku Nara; from the Yamanaka clan, Inoichi Yamanaka; from the Akamichi clan comes Choza Akamichi; from the Sarutobi clan comes Asuma Sarutobi. The most influential civilian families made up the civilian side, while Kaharu, Homura, and Danzo, 3 of Sarutobi's former teammates, made up the elder side. The civilian members opened today's council meeting by bringing up the same issue: Naruto Uzumaki. Council chamber in the past. "We cannot allow that demon to grow any longer, Hokage Sama," uttered a civilian representative. Another civilian exclaimed, "We have to kill it before it is too late," as the Sandaime revealed his murderous intentions in the room, silencing all of the civilians and causing the shinobi some minor discomfort. "You're never going to hurt that boy. And may I remind all of you idiots that the law pertaining to his tenant is still in effect, and the next violator will be punished accordingly," yelled Sarutobi. Observing a gap, Danzo attempted to maneuver his cards. "Sarutobi, maybe a compromise." Danzo began, "If I could," as the Sandaime cut him right away. The Sandaime continued, "He will not be placed in one of your youth centers either." Danzo, thinking about Root. Despite his knowledge that Danzo never truly gave up on his operation, he lacked the evidence to put an end to the man. The matriarch of the Inazuka clan, Sume, began, "Maybe if we could adopt," but was interrupted by another clan leader. "Never, the Uchiha will not allow that demo thing to be adopted in a Konoha noble family. It would ruin the balance between them." Disregarding Sume's glare, Fugaku grinned and spoke. Flashback concludes the meeting today concluded in the same way as all previous meetings concerning Naruto. The elders or the civilian council either blocked or rejected any suggestions to make the boy's life better. The veto also extended to any attempt to adopt the boy. Sarutobi could do nothing but stop the idiotic attempts of the civilians to murder the boy he had come to regard as his grandson. Speaking of the boy, Sarutobi was curious about his surrogate grandson's activities after returning home from a tiring month-long trip to Suna. Though his duties as Hokage prevented him from seeing the boy more than once a month, he made every effort to see him. Though he was taken aback by the civilian representative's request for a council meeting shortly after his arrival back in the village this morning, he decided to disregard it and rescheduled his visitation with his grandson for tomorrow. He then experienced a chakra explosion that was so dark and evil that it could only have one meaning. The Sandaime found the boy with his crystal ball and exclaimed, "Naruto." What he saw caused his eyes to enlarge. The location of Naruto in the woods. In the midst of this hell, Naruto stood there with bodies flying everywhere and blood covering everything. His whisker marks were more noticeable, and his eyes were red and slitted. He turned to look around and saw that everyone from the previous group, civilians, ninja, men, and women, had died. Then, as he collapsed to the ground, unconscious, he slowly closed his eyes. Mental landscape. Naruto felt as though he was being pulled in an autonomous manner as he made his way toward a massive prison cell bearing the word "seal" on it as he meandered through what appeared to be sewers. He ignored the bars, slipping through them with ease and entering the cell deeper. After stepping inside for a short while, he noticed a woman on the floor, gasping for air. Her eyes and hair were both red, and she was stunning. She wore no shoes and a black kimono. Her body resembled that of a goddess, but what really startled him were the 9 tails flowing behind her back and the 2 fox-like appendages on her head. "Anyo. Are you okay, miss?" he inquired. When she saw him, her eyes grew wide as she turned to face him. "Naruto-kun. You're present," she said, her eyes welling with tears as she ran to embrace him. The woman hugged him longer and said, "I was so scared for you when I saw what was happening outside." "Miss, do I know you? How are you aware of my name?" questioned the boy, who appeared a little embarrassed about his initial encounter with a woman. At his question, she broke the hug and stepped back a little before lowering her head. With tears streaming freely from her red eyes, she mumbled, "I'm so sorry, Naruto-kun. I am the reason why everybody hates you, why you are all alone in this world." "How is it possible? I mean, I never saw you. How could you be responsible for what the villagers call me?" replied the child. "Do you know of what happened 6 years ago when Konoha almost faced total destruction?" replied the lady. "Yes, the Kyuubi attacked the village and killed a lot of people before the Yondaime killed it," replied Naruto. "No, that's not entirely the truth of what happened. You see, Kyuubi cannot be killed. Even if it sustained important damage, it would just reform somewhere else after some time," said the woman before going on. The Yondaime had no other choice but to seal the Kyuubi. He sealed it inside a newborn to ensure that the mass of chakra could be absorbed and not destroy the chakra system of an already developed body. "Me," he murmured in a low voice, realizing where she was going with what she had said. He went on, "I really am the demon who stole so many lives," just before she slashed him. "You're not correct. I am the Kyuubi, Naruto-kun, and we are 2 distinct entities," she uttered. He began, "Then that means we are." "Yes, we are in the seal in a dimension that you could call your mindscape," she replied. "When you were stabbed earlier, I forced all the chakra I could out to help you," she said. After a lengthy period of silence, he asked her, "Why? If you are the same demon that attacked the village 6 years ago, why did you help me?" "I will not tell you everything, but I can tell you that it was not my intention to attack the village. I was forced to do it by someone with incredible powers," replied she. "You did not answer me. Why help me? Don't you have the chance to escape if I die?" he inquired once more. "I never wanted you to suffer. Throughout the years, I made countless attempts to get in touch with you, but the seal kept me from doing so. I am able to assist you tonight because of the injury you sustained tonight," she informed him. "I believe you, Q-chan. You are the only one besides Gigi who ever helped me in my whole life," he said, completely surprising her as he closed the distance between them. "Do you not fear me now that you know that I am the Kyuubi?" she asked, surprised that he did not harbor resentment toward her. He then gave her another hug. "Why should I fear you? You are the most beautiful woman I ever saw, Q-chan. You can't be a bad person," he told her. He replied, making her blush before she started crying again and grinning at him. Thank you so much, Naruto-kun. I'm so glad you don't despise me. However, you should be aware that my true name is Natsuki and that Kyuubi is just my nickname. It's nice to meet you, Na-chan. I am Naruto Uzumaki, future Hokage of Konoha," he said, his eyes bright with determination and a smile on his face. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Naru-kun. I will do everything within my power to help you achieve your dream," he said, causing her to blush once more. "Because of our meeting, you now possess abilities that were previously locked inside of you," she said. "What ability?" he exclaimed, his voice full of excitement. No one has ever been able to control the wind to the extent that you can now. She replied proudly, you will become unstoppable with the right training. Sugoi. I'm fantastic. He cried out. We will talk about training later, you must go for now, you are starting to wake up, says she. With a flush, will I see you again, Na-chan? He inquired. He faded away and she smiled back, yes, now that we've made our first contact, we can talk to each other. Konoha Medical Center. Naruto opened his eyes as he began to wake up and realized he was in a hospital room. Then he caught sight of his grandfather. You're finally back, Gigi. Residential district of Konoha. Alone in his apartment, Naruto reflected on everything that had transpired in the past 6 years since that fateful night when he realized why everyone detested him. He served as the Kyuubi no Kitsune's Jinchuriki, the demon with the greatest strength to have ever roamed the planet. Since then, he has been living alone in this apartment. He smiled at the thought of how he came to be here. Flashback. Konoha Hospital following the incident 6 years ago. After the talk with Natsuki, Naruto opened his eyes to find himself in a hospital room. There he stood, the Sandaime Hokage, his face a sad smile. The old man asked, Naruto, my boy, how do you feel? The boy asked, like someone who's been stabbed, what do you think, Gigi? With a hint of irritation in his voice, causing the elderly man to bow his head in humiliation. I'm sorry I was not here for you, Naruto, but can you tell me what you remember from last night? Replied the elderly gentleman. He instantly recognized the voice of his newest friend, Natsuki, and followed her instructions. Naruto, it's me, Natsuki, stay calm and repeat after me. He described how, 1 month prior, he had been expelled from the orphanage on the very day that Sarutobi had left for his diplomatic assignment in Suna. He discussed how he managed to live on the streets by himself for the entire month, and he concluded by discussing the events of the previous night, including the moment he felt a stab wound on his chest and went unconscious from the agony. The idea of the civilian council using his diplomatic assignment to try to remove the boy infuriated the old man. As soon as he reached Konoha, he understood why they had called a meeting. When they finally did try to take him, they probably intended to starve him to death or at the very least weaken him so much that he was unable to resist or try to flee. The boy's body would then vanish simultaneously with their absurd attempt to justify his death during the meeting. In an attempt to find out if he had contact with his tenant, he asked the boy, Naruto, it's important. Do you remember anything from after when you were stabbed yesterday? No, Gigi, all I know is that I woke up here, the boy said, his voice full of confidence. Naruto sobbed as he asked, where will I live now, Gigi? The people at the orphanage kicked me out and they never let any of the other kids play with me. Sarutobi scowled at the boy's remarks and swore at the populace's ignorance and stupidity. With his eyes fixed squarely on the young boy, the elderly man said, Naruto, I have a solution to your problem, but first I need to ask you a question. Do you want to become a ninja, to serve your village and to become a protector of the will of fire? A gleeful Naruto asked, really, Gigi, you will let me become a ninja? Sarutobi laughed with the kid and replied, yes, Naruto, starting tomorrow you will enter the academy. You will get an apartment and you will come to me each week to get your money to buy what you need, how's that sound? The boy confidently exclaimed, that's great, Gigi, I will become the best shinobi, just wait, I'll show them all who I am. Flashback concludes Naruto has had an exciting 6 years. However, after just 1 day at the academy, he realized that the teachers there would never be able to impart any valuable knowledge that would help him in his future career. That didn't make him any less of a shinobi wannabe. He was confident that his teacher would help him hone his innate skill in the shinobi arts. He recalled the training he underwent to get to this level when he thought about her. Flashback. 6 years prior, following the academy's opening day. The young boy asked his tenant, Na-chan, are you sure they were lying to me about teaching me how to be a proper shinobi? Yes, Naru-kun, I'm sure. You will learn in time to read people's emotion and you will be able to tell when someone is lying to you, replied the vixen. A dejected Naruto said, okay, so how will I be able to become the best shinobi if no one is willing to teach me? Did you forget who you were speaking to? I have thousands years of experience and I doubt you could find someone better than me to explain to you how your bloodline works, replied Natsuki. What, I have a bloodline, what is it? Can I have the cool eyes like those ninja I saw once? Asked the youngster. Do you not remember last night when I said that you unlocked my ability? Was his response, and Natsuki had to give a facepalm. He had to smile at his earlier query, yes, the wind thing, so that's my bloodline? Actually, that's only one of your bloodlines, you have another one that must come from one of your parents. Did you note that you never experienced illness? Or the fact that you heal a lot faster than anyone else around you? Replied Natsuki. With a drop of perspiration, he said, "No, I thought it was normal and everyone else was the same." The vixen went on, "The seal permanently transfers my chakra into your body to increase your own reserves. It also gives your body very high adaptability to any environment, which is why you have enormous amount of chakra." Then she noticed a frown on his face. With concern in his voice, he questioned, "Is it not dangerous for you now, Chan, if I take all of your chakra?" Aside from the elderly man, he did not want to lose the first friend he made. She was moved by his concern for her and comforted him, saying, "Don't worry, I have plenty of chakra and you did not even tap the surface of my first tail up to this day." The overly enthusiastic boy asked, forgetting all of his earlier worries, "Okay, so when will you teach me that wind thing? Will I be able to fly? Will I launch Godzilla wind monsters at my enemies?" She spoke sternly to make sure he understood the significance of what she was saying. "Easy, tiger, you will learn everything in time, I promise you. For now your body is not ready yet, and since those fools at the academy won't teach you anything, we will adapt the best we can to your situation. Since we can't do much during your day at the academy, you will rest your body and come inside your mindscape with me to learn what you can. It shouldn't be too hard, you just have to sleep all day like that boy with the pineapple haircut. The instructor won't bother you since they basically ignore you anyway. Then when you leave the academy you will go train your body every night." She concluded her explanation for him. With determination, the boy said, "Okay, that sounds like a plan." Flashback concludes for the next 6 years. His days continued in this manner, and he recalled the timetable Natsuki had created for him to finish his coursework. He spent the first 2 years of his life doing nothing but physical training to get his body ready for the techniques he would eventually learn. He would learn about the theory of chakra, its formation, and its potential during his mindscape training. Learning the Kitsune Taijutsu style, which was built on evasive maneuvers, feints, and counters, took up the 3rd year. He gave the body the flexibility and light muscle work necessary to use this style, which allowed for quick movements. He would study a variety of subjects with Natsuki during the day, from strategy to philosophy. He spent the 4th year honing his fighting skills, learning everything from how to use senbon, kunai, and shuriken to swordplay. He learned the Kitsune Kenjutsu style from Natsuki. Oddly enough, she said that he didn't need to use heavy weapons and that a bokken would be plenty. He followed instructions because he didn't want to argue with her. He would study science throughout the day, and Natsuki insisted that science was a subject that would be crucial to his future. Basic ninjutsu training was taught in the 5th year. Natsuki made the decision to teach him every fundamental jutsu move he would ever need. He was able to learn henge and kawarimi, but he struggled to learn bunshin. Upon recognizing the issue right away, Natsuki made the decision to instruct him in cage bunshin. She had intended to teach it to him after that anyhow, and of course she was aware of the advantage of technique. He studied the shunshin displacement technique and spent the entire year honing those skills. She finally decided to teach him how to use his bloodline in the final year. He attempted the chakra paper test, but because of his strong affinity for wind, the paper exploded into hundreds of pieces the moment he attempted to channel chakra into it. Even if he did have a second affinity, she believed the first was so strong that the test was unable to identify what the second would be. Flashback. A year ago, "Well, this test won't tell us any more than what we already knew," Natsuki replied. With constant excitement, the blonde asked, "So what do I do to use my bloodline?" "For starters, your bloodline gives you total control over the wind element. You won't need any hand sign to launch wind-based jutsus. In a fight where 2 opponents of the same strength face each other, your speed of execution will determine your victory," she began. "Additionally, you will not have to call the jutsu either before launching it. Just thinking about it is enough before you launch it. In a mission where stealth or the surprise effect is needed, this will be a great asset to you," she went on. "Finally, and this is where all the lessons I had you take in science come, your mastery over wind is so powerful you will have the ability to control or counter any other elemental attack used against you by just using your wind element," she said. Naruto had not said anything the whole time, only nodding now and then, but something had to be explained. With a bewildered expression on his face, "What do you mean I can control or counter any elemental technique used against me na, Chan? I know for example that fire elemental jutsus easily trump wind elemental jutsus," he said. She asked, her smile growing, "Now remind me the basics on the fire element." "Excellent Naru-kun. I see you remembered what I told you about the elements," she said proudly. Fire manipulation is based on the ability of the user to expel his chakra in a combustible material to lit it, and the reaction continues as long as the combustible is present and the user channels his chakra for the technique, he said. Her sly smile got more and more confusing until he realized where she was going. "Pim-pom, good answer again. Now tell me, what is the most common combustible used during the fire manipulation jutsus? She said. His gaze grew wide. Oxygen. The ninja uses the oxygen in the air to fuel his technique, and I have complete mastery over wind and consequently the air between him and me, so no oxygen, no fire. That's genius, na, Chan, he yelled. That is correct, Naru.kun, and it is basically the same for all the other elemental techniques, just with some adaptations, nothing you couldn't find by yourself, she replied. Flashback concludes thus: he spent the last year learning wind jutsus and devising counter-strategies for every other elemental jutsus that would be employed against him. The only issue with his training is that, because it was covert, he didn't tell anyone, not even the elderly man, that he could speak with his tenant or that he had a remarkable bloodline. Because he was unable to test the effectiveness of his counter techniques on himself, he was forced to rely solely on wind-based jutsu. He refused to allow this to affect him as he considered the upcoming day. Tomorrow would mark the beginning of his transformation into a true Konoha shinobi, as it was indeed time for the Genin exams. Naturally, he harbored a secret thought that one of the duckasses in his graduating class possessed extraordinary fire jutsu skills, and he could utilize this knowledge to challenge the Emo King to a duel to see how well he controlled his lineage. The apartment of Naruto. Finally, Naruto wakes up in his cozy apartment on the day of the Genin exams. Naruto noticed that although everything was old, filthy, and hardly functional when he first moved in, the apartment was actually fairly well equipped. After reviewing the money the old man had given him for the week, he made a list of the things he would need and the weekly amount he could save to purchase new furniture with Natsuki's assistance. When Naruto attempted to purchase groceries at a nearby store for the first time, they were taken aback by the shopkeeper's scowl and the fact that, when it came time to pay, the price had been tripled. Other than the fact that he would have to save money for a while before he could afford new, low-priority items for his apartment, Naruto didn't give it much thought. Naturally, Natsuki was wiser than the naive young kid and told him that the stores were taking advantage of him. Following the vixen's advice, the boy went to the old man and asked why the prices were doubled or tripled for him. Needless to say, the old man was furious and went with the boy to every store he would need to buy from going forward. He subtly threatened to close each store and have their Konoha license revoked should they try to scam the young boy again. Needless to say, Naruto's life significantly improved following that incident. At last, he got out of bed and began his daily routine. He then got dressed up and put on his ninja gear. His shinobi outfit included black fingerless gloves, black shinobi boots, white enbu style pants, and a white long sleeve shirt with a black jonin style protective vest. The 12-year-old teenager asked, "Are you awake, Na-chan?" The vixen in his head answered, "Yes, Naru.kun, I am. Are you excited? This is finally the day you become a shinobi." "You bet I am. What level of skill do you think I should show during the exams?" replied Naruto. If we look at this, considering who would be in your team after the exams, I think you need to take the spot of Rookie of the Year, she replied. "What do you mean? Can you predict who will be my teammates if I graduate with the best scores in today's exams?" He was somewhat perplexed. "Yes, remember when we learned about previous exams to prepare you for today and how Konoha tends to team up the Rookie of the Year with the top kunoichi of the class and then with the student scoring the lowest score?" Natsuki replied. "Yes, you're right. This way I won't have to be with the Teme. Looking at everyone's previous grades, I'd say Hinata or Sakura would be the top kunoichi while Kiba or Shikamaru would be the lowest student who passed." Examined Naruto. "Yes, that is correct. You can't stand that spoiled brat with the god complex, and you know that I hate his guts too, so there's really no point to keep on hiding your skills at this point," she continued. "Furthermore, you should limit your exposure to chunin skill level as to not be too suspicious. While rare, that kind of skill isn't impossible to reach for an academy student in his last year," she responded to his inquiry. He concluded their talk by saying, "That makes sense. I will hide my more powerful techniques for later then, thanks Na-chan." After locking the door, he departed his apartment and utilized Shunshin to gain access to the academy's rooftop. The Konoha Academy. As Naruto approached his classroom for what he vowed would be his final day in this building, a small poof could be heard on top of the academy's roof. He noticed he was the last one to arrive in his classroom. Most of the future clan chiefs of Konoha were in his class. Naruto has never spoken to Aburame Shino, the heir apparent to the Aburame clan. The heir to the Akamichi clan, Akamichi Choji, was someone Naruto never saw without food. The heiress to the Hyuga clan, Hyuga Hinata, is a girl Naruto never saw able to speak without stuttering. As the heir apparent to the Inuzuka clan, Inuzuka Kiba always enjoyed starting fights with the Uchiha. He recalled Natsuki explaining this to him as some sort of alpha male trait. The most lethargic person Naruto has ever met is Nara Shikamaru, the heir to the Nara clan. Uchiha Sasuke was the heir apparent to the Uchiha clan, but in reality, there was only one clan. The others had perished in an unidentified accident years prior. Naruto encountered the Uchiha, who was incredibly conceited and believed he was a gift from God to the Shinobi nations despite having some skills. The class shallowest girl and heiress to the Yamanaka clan is Yamanaka Ino. Only a few of the students, including Haruno Sakura if she ever decided to take her head out of the Uchiha's ass, possessed the ability to become true ninjas. The rest were from civilian families. As soon as Amino Ikura and his helper Mizuki entered the room, they explained the purpose of the tests. The written exam was the first section. Naruto filled out his exam paper with confidence, knowing all the answers. After completing the test in 30 minutes, he waited patiently for the remaining time. Weapon accuracy was covered in the second section. Pupils were required to hurl 10 kunai and then 10 shuriken at various targets positioned on the practice field. The pupils received calls in alphabetical order. In both the kunai and shuriken exams, Shino received a score of 7. In both the kunai and shuriken exams, Shoji received a score of 7. Hinata received a score of 9 on both the shuriken and kunai exams. Very good Hinata, Iruka proudly exclaimed, as the girl merely flushed and retreated into the crowd. In both the kunai and shuriken exams, Kiba received a score of 5. He walked away from the launch site wearing a frown. Shikamaru received a score of 5 in the kunai exam and a score of 6 in the shuriken exam. With a scowl on his face because his last shuriken throw lacked enough strength to stay embedded in the target, Sasuke received a score of 10 on the kunai exam and a score of 9 on the shuriken exam. With a sly smile on his face, he turned to face the next competitor. As he walked out, he said, "Beat that dobi." With a bored expression on his face, Naruto went to his spot. He mentally calculated the separation between each target and got ready to fire. He mentally prepared the 10 kunai to launch at once, thinking, high-speed penetration power, straight path to the target, air resistance decreased by a factor 3, small layer of wind chakra applied to each kunai. The audience fell silent as each kunai struck the center of the target and embedded itself so deeply that the support holding it back moved back a few inches. Sasuke's smirk vanished in an instant, and he said, "Lucky shot Dobi," while mentally lamenting what had just transpired in front of him. Iruka's eyes widened at the sight. With a sly smile, Naruto accepted the insult in silence and got ready for the next section of the test. Low-speed penetration power, curve path to the target, air resistance decreased by a factor 2, medium, sized layer of wind chakra applied to each shuriken, he was thinking to himself. This time, he used very large movements from his throwing arm to launch each shuriken one at a time, giving each one a unique curving path to once again hit every target squarely in the middle. With a smile on his face, Naruto said, "Man, I'm so lucky today, wonder what's going on," to no one in particular as everyone, including the instructors, fell to the ground in shock. Iruka remarked, Very good Naruto, you must be very lucky today," prior to starting the next exam section. The chunin went on, "Now is the time to evaluate your level of taijutsu." Students were paired off in groups of 2, and each match lasted 3 minutes. The winner was the student who hit the designated part of their opponent's body the most times to score points. Up until the last 2 boys were called, there were fights every time. Iruka was dubbed, Uchiha Sasuke vs Uzumaki Naruto. The adolescent with black hair exclaimed, "The dobi will pay for the humiliation he put me through earlier." The blonde questioned, "Is it luck or not that I have to face the emo king here?" Jiruka called out, "Hajime." With lightning speed, Sasuke charged at his opponent, unleashing a torrent of punches and kicks. Making good use of the superb footwork he had developed for the Kitsune Taijutsu style, Naruto simply danced around his opponent. This fight continued for 2 minutes and 30 seconds until the Uchiha, who was now extremely exhausted from hitting the blonde, attempted to lure him into charging. "Don't know what kind of style you are using dobi, but the one who invented it must be pretty stupid to use a style where you don't even have an offensive attack," he grinned. The blonde thought, "What an idiotic taunt. Am I supposed to charge at him with everything I have while yelling to defend my master's honor?" But then a smile appeared on his face, "I'll give him what he wants then." Futon. Kei's no Yoroi. Imagine Naruto infusing his body with wind chakra before vanishing from sight and leaving a trail of multiple afterimages behind. Sasuke blocked the strike with his own family stance, or so he thought, as an after-image streaked straight through him, making him drop his guard. Then, the real Naruto arrived and struck hard at his opponent's solar plexus, effectively stopping Sasuke's airflow. The boy with black hair quietly collapsed to the ground, unconscious even as he hit the surface. After announcing the winner, Shosha, Uzumaki Naruto by KO earns maximum points in 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Iruka awoke from his daze and carried Uchiha's body over his shoulder to the infirmary. The exam took a brief break so that everyone could get something to eat, and then it continued. He informed his students, the ninjutsu proficiency is the last part of this year's exams. Naruto passed the exam with ease since he was already familiar with all the strategies the instructors had requested him to use. After taking his headband, he walked out of the room, putting Mizuki's frown out of his mind and walking out the other side. After the final section, each student went back to their desk, and Iruka congratulated the new graduates while offering words of support to those who had not passed. He said, "Now is the time to announce the scores for the Rookie and Kunoichi of the year." He declined to name the student who received the lowest grade because neither of them deserved public humiliation, nor was it something to be truly proud of. With pride, he exclaimed, "For the spot of Kunoichi of the year, Hyuga Hinata." The girl blushed, but she managed to straighten up and give her teacher a bow before reclinating. With pride in his voice, he exclaimed once more, "Now for this year's top student and Rookie of the year, Uzumaki Naruto." "What? This is not possible. How could this clan? Less fool be higher than me, Uchiha. I demand you change the ranking and give me the title of Rookie of the Year." Sasuke angrily exclaimed as he got up from his desk before Naruto could move. "Dude, you're seriously messed up. Did the beating earlier give you amnesia or something? I scored higher than you in weapon accuracy and obviously in taijutsu. Our written exam results should be pretty close and ninjutsu proficiency is the same too since I doubt any of us failed any of those jutsus," arrogant Naruto said before Iruka could put the conceited fool in his place. "Well, I feel generous today and I'll humor you. How about a spar to set in stone who the Rookie of this year is? No move restriction, only rule is to not kill. How's that sound?" Naruto cut Sasuke off as he turned to respond once more, a scowl on his face. "All right with me, Dobi," Sasuke answered. "Iruka, sensei?" Naruto inquired. "Are you sure, Naruto?" the chunin asked, getting his student's nod in response. He sighed and said, "Okay, then you got 3 minutes, not a second more, and hajime." Without delay, Sasuke assumed a fighting stance and threw 2 shuriken in Naruto's direction. The blonde thought to himself as he sidestepped the approaching weapons with ease, "Wow, talk about non-lethal moves." Sasuke attacked Naruto right away in a taijutsu battle, using the weapons as a diversion. The battle continued as it had before, with the Avenger throwing kunai and shuriken from time to time, until he eventually lost patience and began making hand gestures. He uttered the words, "Kaiten, Gokakyu no Jutsu," and shot a massive fireball in Naruto's direction. Just as Iruka was about to step in to save Naruto, the blonde gestured for him to step down with a raised hand. With fear in his eyes, the chunin complied. He paused to think, now not too flashy but still enough to put him in his place, before getting ready to stand at his counter. During the 10 seconds of Sasuke's jutsu, oxygen concentration decreased by 100% in a small radius field and wind lateral speed reduced by 100% in a medium radius field. He thought as he released his chakra into a field that was just small enough to cover his body. At the same time, the wind stopped surrounding him. The fireball kept moving in Naruto's direction, and when it arrived at its objective, it just vanished into thin air. "Was that supposed to do something?" asked Naruto, causing the entire assembly to look on in shock. The next instant, he was already behind an alarmed Sasuke and had taken him out with a strong chop to the neck. Iruka declared, "W. Winner Uzumaki Naruto," as he declared the defeat. "Don't forget to come back tomorrow for team placement," he said. He turned to his tenant as he was leaving the field and said, "Well, let's get back now. Chan, I'm finally a genin." The apartment of Naruto was going to bed on the evening following the genin exams. He considered all that had changed for him today. He was now considered an adult by the outside world, a genin of Konoha, and a guardian of the will of fire. He wondered how his conversation with Natsuki would go tonight after this last revelation. It was not the false smile he usually gave everyone in Konoha when he thought about the vixen. Rather, this smile was genuine happiness. The two had a very cordial relationship. Since the night of the accident, they had been able to communicate with each other via telepathy, even though Natsuki was the only person who knew Naruto's true identity. Naruto used to share almost everything with Natsuki, but there was one thing he kept hidden from her that he intended to tell her about when he thought the time was right. Naruto will confess his love to the woman who has captured his heart since the day he realized what love is about to happen tonight. This is the night he will tell her how he really feels about her. The young blonde was terrified that she might reject him, but Natsuki always taught him to face his difficulties head on and to never allow fear to keep him from overcoming them. Keeping those ideas in mind, he made the decision to end the evening and spend the most significant conversation of his life with Natsuki in his mindscape. He let sleep take over him as he slowly closed his eyes and calmed his thoughts. Mental space. Naruto entered his own world and traveled to where Natsuki was. Since his first visit to the mindscape, a lot had changed. Now he stood in a lovely clearing with a typical sized house in the middle, rather than the chaotic, abandoned sewers. As he entered the house, he discovered Natsuki dozing off on the living room couch. She was wearing a necklace that she had not worn when they first met. It was a stunning silver necklace with a red ruby stone in the middle. The kanji for seal was engraved in gold characters on the stone. He moved a few paces in her direction and started to gently stroke her hair. She smiled as he gently roused her from her sleep. He said softly, running his hand through her hair, "Na-chan, wake up." She opened her eyes and said, "Naru-kun, you're here, so how does it feel to take the first step towards your dream?" With great resolve in his voice, he replied, "Feels great, Na-chan. Today when I left the academy building I felt like I could take on the world, that nothing was impossible for me. I'm so proud of you. I'm sure that one day you will be the light of Konoha. Everyone will see you for the great and kind soul you are as I do," she told him. "It's all thanks to you, Na-chan. I don't know where I would be today without you with me. Most likely I would still be wandering the streets aimlessly or worse." He was overcome with emotion. She nodded to him as he said, "I came to tell you something tonight. Please let me finish before you reply. It is very important to me. I don't know where to start, so I'll just say it from my heart. Na-chan, I love you. I've been in love with you for a long time now and I just wanted for you to know. You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen and I feel safe to talk about anything with you without fear. I know that I'm far from the best you could have as a boyfriend, but I promise you to always be there for you and protect you with all my might until the end of time," he said to her as he gazed into her eyes. He concluded, looking nervously to the ground, "I want you to know that I will find a way to get you out of the seal. That I promise you. Even if you don't like me back, I will honor this oath I make to you." Tears filled her eyes as she thought, "If only you knew." He nodded in agreement as she said, "Before I give you my answer, I want you to listen to me as I listen to you and do not interrupt me until I am done, okay? As you know, I told you I was sealed in you the day of your birth by the Yondaime after I lost control of myself and attacked Konoha due to one man we will talk about later." Her words caused Naruto's eyes to widen at the revelation, but he kept silent as he had promised. "What you don't know is what, or more importantly where I was before all this happened. Before your birth I was sealed inside you, mother, my second Jinchuriki. Your mother's name was Uzumaki Kushina and she was chosen to be my Jinchuriki after the last one because of her Uzumaki bloodline that made her the perfect host for me. Female Uzumaki Jinchuriki possess a bloodline that allow them to have control over the Biju, but we'll talk about that later. Unfortunately, female Jinchuriki also have a weakness: childbirth. When comes the day they give birth to a child, the seal holding back the Biju will weaken severely. The day you were born, the seal on Kushina failed and I was forced out of her body by a man with very high powers. I didn't even have the time to realize I was outside again after so long that he used a jutsu on me to cloud my mind with his hypnotic suggestion." She concluded her story with tears streaming freely from her scarlet eyes as she waited for his response. "The next thing I remember is waking up sealed inside you. So there you have it. I am the reason you are all alone in this world, feared and hated by everyone." After a considerable amount of time, lost in contemplation, Naruto turned to face Natsuki and uttered, "This is not what I asked you. I still want to know how you feel about me. Of course I love you too. You are a kind and gentle soul. Any female would be crazy not to accept your feelings. You are everything I could hope for in a mate. I was just so afraid you would hate me for my past that I couldn't bring myself to tell you about your mother until today, but your confession left me with no other choice," she replied openly. "Then it doesn't change my feelings for you, Na-chan. While I'm not entirely happy that you didn't tell me about my mom until today, I understand where you're coming from as I felt the same thinking about what I'd do if you didn't like me back." He reassured her, saying with conviction in his voice, "Furthermore, as you already told me the first time we met, it was not in your intention to attack Konoha that night. You were forced to do it and we will talk about that mysterious man later. They finally let go of everything that was preventing them from moving toward one another and planted their first kiss. The kiss was everything Naruto had hoped it would be. Passionate as she parted her lips to allow their tongues to meet, and tender as their lips first touched. Naruto wished that this would last forever, but he had no idea how long they would remain this way. At that point, nothing else in the world mattered. The moment they parted, Natsuki Kyubi no Yoko, "This is the greatest feeling ever. I love you more than anything in this corrupted world," was written in deep volcanic red eyes and bright blue oceanic eyes. Just as she realized he was beginning to fade away, she replied, "Naruto Uzumaki, I love you too with all my heart." Naruto, feeling his way out of his mindscape, remarked melancholy, "Looks like it's already the morning outside. Don't be late for your team placement today, Naru.kun. I'll see you soon," she uttered as he eventually emerged from his mindscape. In Naruto's room once more Naruto awoke with the broadest smile he had ever seen. Even during his training years, when he was mastering amazing ninjutsu, he had never felt more alive. He completed his morning routine and got ready for the day's ninja gear. When he was done, he locked the door and left via Shunshin. The Academy of Konoha. Naruto proceeded to his customary desk and bided his time until Iruka and Mizuki arrived. Suddenly, he was reminded of the silver-haired chunin instructor. The blonde exclaimed, "Mizuki! I totally forgot about that bastard. I should have gone to the old man yesterday." Just before he noticed Iruka, who had numerous bandages on his face, enter the classroom. He refused to refer to someone as "sensei" if they didn't deserve it. "Iruka, sensei, what happened to your face, and where's Mizuki?" he requested. After taking a moment to gather his thoughts, Iruka addressed his students, saying, "I'm sorry to say this to you all who knew Mizuki, but yesterday he was found red-handed trying to steal the forbidden scroll of Konoha's Kenjutsu by a patrol. I was the one who located him the first before he could leave Konoha's walls and I stopped him. That's why I got these injuries, but the scroll is safe and Mizuki has been taken into custody." With seriousness in his voice, he said, "Let's make this my final lesson to all of you. In a shinobi's life, today's ally could very well be tomorrow's opponent and vice versa." Iruka went on, "Well, let's finish this off now, shall we? Now the team placement will be the following. Team 1. Naruto nodded off until he heard the names of people he thought might survive beyond Genin. Iruka declared, Team 7. Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Aburame Shino. Your Jonin sensei will be Hitaki Kakashi. Naruto knew exactly what was going to happen because he had blocked his ears and could still clearly hear Sakura exclaiming that love had triumphed, or something to that effect. For some reason, Sasuke was still glaring at Shino, who was being as expressive as ever. Naruto reasoned, must still be mad at me about the fight of yesterday and not being the rookie of the year. Natsuki declared her presence, saying, "Thank God we're not with him, it would have been the recipe for a disaster." "Why? You're awake, Chan," exclaimed Naruto, still blushing from what had happened yesterday. "Love you too, Naru.kun," exclaimed the vixen, knowing just how to put her host through her paces to make her look foolish. Iruka pulled Naruto from his reverie and said, Team 8, Inuzuka Kiba, Hyuga Hinata, and Uzumaki Naruto, you Jonin sensei will be Yuhi Kurenai. Naruto thought, so Kiba was the dead last of this year. Well, at least he's not a complete retard, as the Uchiha and Hinata seems capable enough if she just gained some more confidence. Kurenai is the Genjutsu mistress of Konoha. Surely I will be able to test my resistance to Genjutsu with her as a teacher. That's great. What do you think, Chan? Yes, that's great. I feel that we can expect her to treat you fairly from what the report we read about her said about her professionalism and her caring attitude, replied Natsuki. Iruka went on, Team 9 is still active from last year. Iruka concluded his announcement by saying, Team 10, Akamichi Choji, Nara Shikamaru, and Yamanaka Ino. Your Jonin sensei is Sarutobi Asuma. So they decided to reform the legendary Ino Shika show team with their children without even considering their current relationship with each other. That's pretty stupid. Well, Shikamaru and Choji will do fine together, but I don't see Ino fitting in that team anytime soon. Thoughts on the potential of Team 10? Iruka said as he left the classroom, that's all. Stay here until your sensei comes to get you, and good luck for your future career. I am proud to have been your sensei. Since Iruka had been the only fair teacher he had had in the academy, Naruto was a little bummed that he would be seeing him much less from now on. As soon as the first Jonin entered the classroom, his thoughts returned to normal. Naruto recognized the man from seeing him many times when he visited the old man in the past, and a stunning woman in her 20s made her way inside with the Hokage's son Sarutobi Asuma. She started to leave the room, saying, "I'm Yuhi Kurenai, Jonin-sensei for Team 8. Please follow me to training ground number 8. After giving Kiba and Hinata a shrug of the shoulders, Naruto made the decision to start a new chapter in his life by following his new teacher. Ground of Training 8. After being led by their Jonin instructor Yuhi Kurenai, the recently formed Team 8 has just reached their destination, Training Ground 8. Kurenai was a stunning woman with red eyes and long, curly black hair. She dressed in custom clothes and exuded maturity despite being a young Jonin. "Welcome and congratulations on becoming real ninjas to you three," she responded. "You already know my name, but let's introduce ourselves properly," she concluded. "My name is Yuhi Kurenai. I like training to perfect my genjutsu skills, passing time with my best friend Anko and eating dango. I dislike perverts, arrogant and sexist people. My dream for the future is to teach you all to reach your full potential as ninjas and for me to be one day recognized as the best genjutsu user in the elemental nations," she said before nodding to Hinata to continue. "My name is Hyuga Hinata. I like my family and learning my family taijutsu style. My dislike are the same as sensei and my dream is to reunite my family into a family with no distinction between main and branch members," she said hesitantly and stuttering a little. Naruto nodded, thinking that beneath all of Kiba's foolishness was a good man. Kiba knew he was the next to speak, so he said, "My name is Inuzuka Kiba, and here is my companion Akamaru. I like my family and learning my family jutsu. I dislike girls, arrogant pricks who think they are better than anyone and people who disrespect animals. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I like training and reading. I dislike arrogant ignorant people and my dream for the future is to become the strongest Hokage ever and protect everyone in Konoha, even those who don't deserve it," he told his teammates. Then Kurenai told them that in order for them to be considered true genin, they had to pass her test. She held out 2 bells from her pouch and informed them that in order for them to pass, they would need to obtain the bells from her, and that it was inevitable that at least one of them would fail and be returned to the academy. Then, as she vanished into the forest amid a whirl of leaves, she gestured for them to begin. Naruto called Kiba and Hinata back just as they were ready to dash into the forest. "Guys, wait, it's a trap, we have to work together to get those bells," he told them. Kiba questioned, "How do you know, Naruto?" while Hinata remained mute and blushed slightly at being called by her crush. "Have you ever heard of a one-man cell or even a two-man cell?" They responded, "Yay, me neither. Konoha policy is to promote teamwork and I think this is a test to see if we could perform up to their standard," said Naruto. Naruto's teammates were taken aback by his ability to decipher the mission objectives despite his lack of prominence during his academy days. Kiba's family motto was to put the needs of the pack before oneself, so he had no trouble working as a team. Hinata chose to heed his advice after realizing it was true. The formation was unexpectedly Kiba's idea, and Naruto thought the logic behind it made sense, as they dashed into the forest in a single-line formation, spotting several traps and avoiding them all. Hinata went first with her Byakugan. Not only could she see through all of the genjutsu traps set by Kurenai, but she could also see right through those set by their sensei. With his flawless weapon accuracy score, Naruto was in the center, making him the ideal candidate to launch a counterattack as soon as a threat was detected. Kiba assumed the role of rearguard, preventing attacks from behind the team with his improved hearing and smell senses. Kurenai was amazed to see how well the newly formed genin worked together, dodging her traps and trailing her through the forest. She then made the decision to up the difficulty and started to alter her approach while making herself known. Hinata abruptly stopped running, indicating a problem. "There's a problem, but I can still see Sensei," she said. "Sensei chakra signature is now coming from 4 directions and I can't tell which one is the real one with my Byakugan. I can't tell them apart either, they all smell the same," said Kiba. Naruto started out by telling his teammates how he intended to defeat Kurenai's cage bunchins. "Okay, I've got a plan, listen to me," he said to them. As soon as Kurenai and her clones reached the location where her team was meant to have stopped, they heard a trap and multiple smoke bombs detonated. They came from all directions. Soon, smoke was billowing over the area. After a short while, the smoke cleared, and Kurenai found herself in the clearing with 7 other Kurenai, instead of just 3 doppelgangers, where she was supposed to find her team. Now that she knew that 3 of them were her clones, she briefly considered dispelling them all to determine who to target specifically, but she ultimately decided against it for 2 reasons. First, it would lessen her advantage against the fakes, who would then decide to attack her simultaneously, and second, She thought their strategy was interesting and wanted to investigate whether their scheme had any other purpose after the unexpected effect they had just displayed on her. Furthermore, she discovered a flaw in their strategy. How could the Genin figure out who among those 7 was a fake and who was a clone if not even she? After the smokescreen cleared, they should also be clueless about who to target. Then, in a 4-on-2 versus .2 taijutsu spar, 4, Kurenai suddenly charged at the remaining ones, including the real one who was clearly facing one of her Genin hanged into her. After making first contact, the attacking Kurenai transformed back into Hinata, Kiba, and Akamaru with a Kiba, Henge, and finally Naruto. It was Naruto who confronted the actual Kurenai. She was a specialist in genjutsu, but that didn't mean she couldn't hold her own in taijutsu. In addition, having Konoha's snake mistress as a sparring partner helped a lot because Anko was a master of the extremely lethal snake taijutsu style. Though their styles were greatly influenced by their family's extremely strong taijutsu, Hinata and Kiba were also formidable fighters. After a while, her clones were able to defeat the Genin, but they were unable to use their remaining chakra and so dispelled themselves. Unfortunately, Akamaru was easily defeated by his opponent who was cloned. After taking on the real 1 and 2 Kurenai on the field, that only left one Naruto somewhat exhausted. The true Kurenai smirked ahead of time at her impending triumph, but she made the decision that she would still defeat this team because of their excellent teamwork, even if they didn't receive any bells. She was unprepared for her clone to launch a barrage of kunai and shuriken in her direction. She barely avoided the projectiles and landed a few meters backwards when she noticed a sudden white and yellow blur. He's fast, she thought to herself before the impact. She was thrown back, sliding to the ground for a few meters after taking a clean hit to her sternum. When Naruto smirked at her and raised 2 bells in his right hand, she got to her feet, holding her stomach and preparing to use some powerful genjutsu to slow him down. Naruto grinned and said, "I think we win, sensei." She was shocked since she didn't even sense him removing the bells. "Very impressive, Naruto. I didn't expect the clone facing Akamaru to be one of yours and not mine," she said to him after deciding to try one last test and realizing the other 2 were gone. "Gratitude, sensei," Akamaru said as he emerged from his false unconsciousness and reconnected with his unconscious master. "How did you and the others know who was a clone of mine and not a hanged teammate before the fight?" replied Kurenai. Naruto responded, making his Kurenai clone extend her hand. It had a marking on it that he made disappear with a pen or something. "Easy, sensei. First I took out Akamaru's opponent during the confusion and then." "Very clever, you win. Now choose who you will give the last bell to Naruto and who will be sent back to the academy," replied Kurenai. After taking the bells and tossing one towards Hinata and the other toward Kiba, Naruto appeared to pause and consider his response to her. With a determined look in his eyes, he remarked, "It was a team effort to take those bells from you, sensei. Even if I am the last one standing, I choose not to abandon my comrades." Hinata and Kiba awoke at this precise moment, and upon hearing the blonde's words and realizing that he had not taken advantage of their unconscious state to grab a bell for himself, their respect for him increased tenfold. Impressed as well, Kurenai grinned and proudly declared, "Team 8, it is my pleasure to say that you all passed my test for the Genin admission application." As he embraced Akamaru, Kiba exclaimed, "Yahoo, do you hear that, buddy, we passed." Hinata simply grinned, thinking that perhaps, just this once, her father would find her impressive. Naruto was also filled with pride. He had no idea that working as a team could be so rewarding. Although he was aware that he could have defeated Kurenai on his own, he found it more impressive that he could have experienced this moment with his teammates. She dismissed her team but promptly called Naruto back. "That is all for today. Good job, Team 8. Meet me here tomorrow at 9 and we will begin our missions," she said. "I think there are things we need to discuss. Would you please come with me to the Hokage Tower, Naruto?" in a tone that made it obvious that saying no was not an option. He nodded to her and trailed behind her as his teammates headed back to their house. Hokage office and tower. Naruto just kicked the door open and entered the Hokage office as Kurenai was about to knock. Naruto saw Sarutobi behind his desk and exclaimed, "Hey there, Gigi. Long time no see. I'm a shinobi of the leaf now." "That I see, my boy. Congratulations, it seems you're one step further to take my hat, Naruto," replied the elderly gentleman. "Anyway, what are you doing here? Surely you didn't come here just to tell me that. I am the one who made the team arrangement after all, and I already knew that you passed the exams," continued the elderly shinobi. A still shocked Kurenai stated, "Actually, Hokage Sama, I am the one who called Naruto here. in response to her student's apparent familiarity with the man known as the Shinobi no Kami. Naruto was beginning to feel uneasy about Kurenai's motivation for bringing him here. During our fight to determine if Naruto and his teammates had what it takes to be real Konoha ninja, Naruto here displayed some impressive skills. I would even go as far to say that those skills were too impressive, she went on. Though Kurenai was no chunin instructor with no real-world experience, she was able to recognize true power in a fight, and Naruto was cursing inside his head because he did display too much during the fight. Kurenai told the Hokage about the fight's progression, Naruto's use of Kage Bunshin to trick her during the pivotal battle, and his last blow, which, as far as she could tell, was much more powerful and swift than a Genin or even a chunin. Following that, there was a lengthy silence before Sarutobi said, "Naruto, please tell me how you could perform the Kage Bunshin, and what that last move was, and don't forget anything." The elderly man had a look in his eyes that warned Naruto not to lie. After inhaling deeply, Naruto closed his eyes and gave a nod. "You may want to make sure the room is secure, Gigi. What I will tell you will rock your world and in the wrong ears could prove to become a hassle for Konoha," said the brunette. Upon witnessing Naruto's serious demeanor for the first time, Sarutobi's eyes grew wide and he hastily gestured to keep his office safe from prying eyes. When he was finished, he gestured for Naruto to start speaking. "It all started 6 years ago, the night I was attacked," Naruto said. All he revealed to them was his meeting with Natsuki, his training under her guidance for the previous 6 years, the overall theme of that training, how he came to know about his mother Kushina, and consequently, the reason behind the Kyuubi attack 12 years prior. At first, Sarutobi was afraid that the Kyuubi was somehow controlling the young ninja, but after hearing Naruto's story, he began to trust the blonde when he said that Natsuki was reliable. The idea of a man with Kyuubi control also made him extremely afraid. At last, he realized that he would have to inform Naruto about his father shortly as well. All he needed was Jiraiya's presence to assist him in breaking the news to Naruto. Kurenai, on the other hand, was moved by what Naruto had to go through in his life thus far. However, she was also disappointed to discover that Naruto was her late sensei Kushina's son and that she had failed to assist the young man in his early years. She silently promised herself that she would support the young man in front of her going forward, and perhaps even impart some knowledge about his mother. Naruto said, "So Gigi, sensei, am I in trouble?" "No Naruto, you are not. Even tough, I would have preferred for you to come to me and tell me everything sooner. I can understand that you have trust issues with people after what you've been through," responded the Sandame. "I understand too why you did not reveal everything you could do during our fight, Naruto, and I'm not mad at you. We will have to talk about what you can do though in order for the team to function properly. While we are on the revelations, I can tell you that your mother was my Jonin sensei when I was a Genin. I would be honored to tell you about her if you wish after this," responded Kurenai. Naruto felt relieved since he had never liked lying to the elderly man, and now that Kurenai was a student of his mother, he could also trust her. The Hokage dismissed them, saying, "That would be all for now. The Genin official papers will be ready before the end of the day and I will see you Kurenai and your team tomorrow for your first mission." The apartment of Naruto. After reaching his apartment, Naruto asked Natsuki, "Do you think I made the right choice to tell them everything, Na-chan?" Through a link. "Only time will tell us, Naru.kun, but I think they are trustworthy," said Natsuki. Naruto said as he drifted off to sleep, "I guess you're right, I'm a bit winded from today's fight and revelations, I'm calling it a night." Mission Hall. Hokage Tower. The Genin exams were over a month ago, and Naruto and Team 8 had completed their fair share of D-ranked missions by then. Team 8, you will be pleased that I have a C-ranked mission for you, if Kurenai here thinks you are ready, of course," said Sarutobi. Hokage. "Sama, my team is prepared," Kurenai boastfully answered. Her ability to make Hinata give up on her crush on Naruto and make Kiba concentrate more during battles demonstrated her perfect teamwork. Alright then, Team 7 was in the middle of their first C-ranked mission to Wave Country when they encountered more resistance than the mission parameters. Protocol would have wanted for the senior officer Hitaki Kakashi to withdraw from the mission and pull back his team, but it seems he let his Genin decide if they should continue the mission or not. Kiba nodded and Akamaru barked, indicating to Naruto that it was obvious the Uchiha wanted to keep proving to everyone that he was the greatest. "You're right," Sarutobi said, but the Hokage went on. "But Genin Aburame Shino had the presence to send one of his familiar back to warn some relatives who in turn warned me about these new developments. It is safe to say, given their opposition, that they will require reinforcement to complete their mission. To help them finish their mission, Team 8 will deploy in an hour to join them in Wave. Is it understood that Kurenai will take over as team leader when your team becomes a part of Team 7? Hokage. Sama, yes, Kurenai answered. The old man concluded, then dismissed and good luck, as Team 8 departed on their first official mission. The forest of Konoha Team 8 was sprinting through the woods of Konoha, hopping from one tree to another. During the first month of training, Kurenai had gone over the significance of chakra control with her students. Naruto was already proficient in the exercises of walking on water and in trees. While it took Kiba twice as long to complete both tasks correctly, Hinata was able to complete them in just 1 week. After talking with Naruto about his present abilities, Kurenai made the decision to ascertain her students' elemental affinities. Flashback. Training Ground 8 in the morning following the Team 8 assessment test. Following his revelations to Kurenai and the elderly man, Naruto made a promise to her that he would explain the full extent of his powers. As a result, they agreed to meet the following morning. When he arrived at his team's training ground at 7 in the morning, Kurenai and 2 other individuals, 2 females, based on their appearance from a distance, were already waiting for him. The first one wore all of the ANBU's equipment, save for a mask, and had long, flowing purple hair. A stunning katana was fastened to her back. He was reminded of Shikamaru's hairstyle by the second person, who had shorter purple hair tied in a pineapple style. She wore a brown miniskirt with a tan trench coat and mesh clothing that left little room for interpretation. She held a kunai and was playing with it. As he arrived, Naruto called out, "Good morning, Kurenai, sensei." She pointed to the other 2 people on the field and said, "Good morning, Naruto. These 2 are my best friends. The one with the sword is Azuki Yugo. She works for the Anbu Corps as you can see by her gears, though I won't be more specific since their identities is supposed to stay a secret for everyone's protection," she stated regarding her initial companion. She concluded the introductions by saying, "The other one is Midarashi Anko. She works for the T&I department." Naruto confidently answered, "I'm Uzumaki Naruto, the future Hokage of Konoha. It's a pleasure to meet Sensei's friends." "He's so cute, Chan. Can I eat him?" Anko exclaimed, much to Yugo's amusement and Kurenai's wrath. Naruto recoiled in fear at the insane woman, but Kurenai reassured him, "Don't pay attention to her, Naruto. I called them here today to help me evaluate your skills as we agreed on and of course with the permission of Hokage Sama. Yugo here will evaluate your Kenjutsu while Anko will test your Taijutsu. I will test your Genjutsu prowess and finally we will all see about your ninjutsu after that," Kurenai went on to say. "But remember this time no holding back." "Hi sensei," was Naruto's reply before he dropped into a Kenjutsu stance, facing Yugo who had drawn her katana and holding a kunai in each hand in a reversed grip. "I thought you told Kurenai you had a great mastery over swords, don't you have anything with a longer reach to face me?" the Anbu operator asked, raising an eyebrow at him. Naruto laughed at her query and got ready for the duel. Yugo versus Naruto, he said to himself, "Futon. Futago Kei's Ken no Jutsu," just as the air surrounding the kunai in each of his hands appeared to blur, almost solidifying but remaining translucent. He smirked and said, "Try me, Yugo-san. Maybe I will be the first to draw blood, you never know." With a sudden rush of speed, she said, "Very well Naruto-san, here I come." As he was just about to block her katana with both of his kunai in a crossguard, Naruto exclaimed, "So fast." Though Naruto knew Yugo would stop her blade before cutting him too deeply, Yugo was much faster than the current Naruto, and her blows were directed at important spots. "I have no other option," Naruto concluded as he got ready to make another move. He felt the wind fill his body and called in his mind, "Futon. Kei's no Yoroi." For the first time during their spar, he was able to overtake her and go on the attack. Yugo estimated that she would still have 5 seconds before Naruto could reach her as he drew closer. His stance certainly impressed her, as he was able to block her blows and gave her very little room to maneuver around his guard. As she readied herself to counterattack, timing herself precisely with the estimated time she had just calculated, she thought, "His speed is nothing to laugh at either as he was somehow able to follow my movements after some time during the fight." But she was unprepared because Naruto moved faster than she had anticipated, and her guard was unprepared for that. Naruto managed to sever her skin slightly above her stomach, not too deeply, but enough that she realized that if he had waited an extra second to strike, it probably would have been a fatal blow. "Wow. So this is the secret behind your kunai," Yugo exclaimed to him as she raised her arms to indicate the end of the spar. "Yes Yugo-san. I named it Futon. Futogo-Kei's Ken no Jutsu. It uses my wind chakra to extend the reach of any weapon I wield for offensive purposes. I can't use it to block physical attacks yet, but it grants me a great surprise attack the first time I may use it against an opponent, and it is still very difficult to read my reach with it even knowing about the technique, replied the blonde. Amazing, your control over the wind element is astonishing for you to perform such a feat with a regular kunai. Sarutobi Asuma uses special forged weapon to conduct chakra in the same manner as you do, but in his version I can still read his reach. I suppose it is not 100% pure wind chakra that he channels in his weapons, she said while assessing his technique. Well, after this spar I can say that your kenjutsu is currently at high Jonin level borderline Anbu. You still leave some openings in your guard and you may want to challenge what weapon you really need to use with your style. Your offensive potential is amazing, but you are currently lacking in the defensive ability. Come look for me anytime you need help with your kenjutsu for a spar or advices, she said with an authoritative voice. He bowed to her and said, I am honored that you would think so highly of my skills, Yugo Sensei, and I will most certainly come to see you in the future. As they returned to Kurenai and Anko. That was impressive, Gaki. I can't wait for my turn now, said Anko. Naruto exhaled sharply and said, okay, before requesting a brief break to catch his breath. He gave Anko a 5-minute signal that he was prepared. Anko versus Naruto. Anko declared, the loser is the one who yields or loses consciousness first. Alright, Anko-san, I'm prepared, Naruto said, tumbling in the Kitsune Taijutsu manner. Naruto's style involved continuous footwork to enable quick movement and counterattacks, as well as an open palm stance for his upper guard. With incredible speed, Anko charged at him, punching and kicking him repeatedly in the vital organs. To counter her charge, he had to turn on his Kei's no Yoroi right away. For the first 2 minutes of the fight, Anko decided to make things more difficult. She called out, Senei Jashu, as a number of snakes emerged from her sleeves and coiled themselves around Naruto's limb, rendering him immobile. She abruptly stopped his movements, surprising Naruto. So this is the Habi Taijutsu style, he thought to himself. Is that all you got, Gaki? I was just getting warmed up, she asked, beaming broadly. It's time to escape from this, he thought for a moment before directing wind chakra to his hands and mentally calling the jutsu. Futon. Kazikiri. This time, like with the kunai before, transparent smoke started to blur and radiate from the area surrounding his hands. Before using his next move, which he had already demonstrated against Sasuke, he easily destroyed the snakes that were pursuing him in a shower of blood. Kitsune Yurei no Jutsu, he said to himself as 4 series of afterimages left his current position and raced toward an astonished Anko in 4 different directions, coming at her from both sides, from behind, and from the front. Since the previous version only used one straight path to the front of the Avenger, he used a lot more chakra against Sasuke than he did in this version. Anko could see the 4 ghosts moving quickly toward her and vanishing behind images in their wake, but she had no way of knowing which of the ghosts was real. Before she knew what was going on, Naruto had stopped to her left, his Kazikiri prepared to rip out her heart. She gave him a sly smile and said, okay, I yield, Gaki, you win. That was a great fight and I feel all excited behind my coat. This caused him to take a step back, blush hysterically, and nearly trip. Under the amused glances of the other girls, he cried out, hentai, as he attempted to regain his balance. Okay, so I'll say you are currently easily high Jonin level in Taijutsu, borderline Anbu as your kenjutsu. I ought to warn you though that the last move you displayed, while amazing, may turn into a weakness for you in the future should you use it against cage level Taijutsu fighters or highly skilled Dujutsu wielders as the Byukugen or the Sharingan. Charging at a high speed like this while also focusing on your other illusions will lessen your field of vision, and opponents who can move faster than you or those who wield Dujutsu who can tell which one of those illusions is real will easily be able to counter you. He bowed to her and said, thanks for the lesson in the spar, Anko. Sensei. I'm honored that you think so highly of my skill. Alright, stop with the formalities. Come find me if you need help with your taijutsu, laughed Anko. He smiled and said, I will, thanks, very impressive, Naruto, Kurenai exclaimed, looking proudly at her pupil. She went on, I think it's time to see how well you do against genjutsu, but Naruto interrupted her. Anyo, my wind chakra control may be good but my chakra control in general is not. I have never been able to perform genjutsu and I don't think I would be able to resist anything you would throw to me at the moment, he said with a scowl. She smiled at him to cheer him up, saying, it's okay Naruto, you are still a genin. I was just swept in the moment thinking all your skills would be on par with those you've previously shown. Naruto said, okay, So how will we test my ninjutsu, sensei? Well, I don't think we have time for more spars today, and I've seen a lot of what you can do already. Just show me one of your best wind jutsu, he replied to her. He nodded to her and held out his palms toward the forest, mentally summoning his next jutsu. Futon. Furyuden no Jutsu, as he saw a big tree close to them. A massive wind dragon emerged from his palms, destroying the tree and everything in its path. Glancing at the damage caused by the jutsu, Kurenai exclaimed, "Incredible. The chakra and wind control requirements for that jutsu must be astonishing," Yugo said. Anko felt the wind dragon power, as if it could shake the entire forest in its path, and thought, this Gaki is going to go far. Kurenai eventually remarked, "Good, that's enough, Naruto. I can say that overall you are currently at least at Tokubetsu Jonin level. You would be Jonin level if you can fix your genjutsu problem or at least find a way to counter them if you can't make them. You would also be required to develop an affinity to a second element, but that's alright for now, you are still a diamond in the rough, but I know where I need to train you on," stated Kurenai. "The rest will come with training and experience, Naruto. You have talent, you can believe me when I say that. I grew up with people like Uchiha Itachi or Hitaki Kakashi. I know you have what it takes to one day surpass them all," Yugo replied. Anko smirked and asked, "Are you sure I still can't eat him now, Nai-chan?" While the others began to perspire at her antics. Kurenai and Naruto remained on the field, waiting for the remaining members of Team 8 to arrive, after Kurenai's two friends departed. Flashback concludes following that, Kurenai reported what she had seen to the Hokage, and the two of them determined that Naruto should stick to using the simplest and most covert techniques he was familiar with in order to avoid drawing suspicion. According to Sarutobi's theory, if it were made known that Naruto possessed a bloodline similar to the Nidaime Hokage's ability to control water, his being a wind one, though, many adversaries would attempt to harm him. The village elders would force Naruto to become breeding material, thus ending his shinobi career, while the civilian council would demand the death of the demon displaying Kyuubi's demonic powers from within the village. There would be assassination attempts and the potential for kidnapping from the outside of the village. The thought of all those threats made Naruto shudder, and he quickly agreed with Jiji and his sensei that he should save his strongest attacks for when it's most necessary to defend his most valuable allies. When they arrived at Wave Country, Naruto was startled out of his reverie. Naruto had seen the less desirable areas of Konoha when he was younger, but what he saw in Wave Country was far worse. Just as they were about to ask for directions to Tazuna's house, Hinata noticed a black teen with a duck-ass shaped hair and a mop of bubblegum pink hair at the far end of the village. She gave her team a signal, and they all started moving in that direction. Naruto exclaimed, "We're finally here, let's start this C-ranked mission," as his group pulled up in front of Tazuna's house, which Hinata had just seen members of Team 7 enter. Wave Country, where Tazuna lives. 10 seconds after Kurenai knocked on the door from the house Hinata had watched Team 7 enter, a woman answered. She said to Kurenai, "Yes, how may I help you, miss?" With grace. Kurenai inquired, "Are you related to Tazuna the bridge builder, ma'am?" Tsunami said, "Yes, I am his daughter," observing the leaf headbands worn by Team 8. "We are Team 8 of Konoha sent in reinforcement for the remaining of this mission. May I speak with the other team leader, please?" said Kurenai. As she allowed Team 8 to enter the house, Tsunami said, "Yes, of course, please come in." Team 8 found Kakashi and the other members of Team 7 in the living room after entering the house. The Cyclops was engrossed in an orange book. Shino was occupying a small boy's attention at a table. Sakura was adoring Sasuke, and Sasuke himself was, well, just scowling as he peered out the window. Kakashi, who was comfortably seated on the couch, got up as soon as he saw them enter. "What are you doing here with your team, Kurenai?" he asked, looking clearly surprised by their presence. The red-eyed Jonin answered, "I need to speak with you privately, Kakashi. Can we step out of the house for a minute or two?" After Kakashi said, "Sure, let's go," they both returned to the outside of the house. Outside the residence. As soon as they were outside the house, Kurenai gave Kakashi a scroll bearing the Hokage seal and gave him an explanation of the circumstances surrounding her appointment as mission leader for the remainder of the mission. Although Kakashi was not happy, he was powerless to change the message contained in the scroll, which gave Kurenai complete control over him for the mission. Eventually, he handed the scroll back to her and said, "Very well, you're in charge, Kurenai." Kurenai walked back into Tazuna's home and said, "Good, let's go back inside. I need you to explain to me what happened from when you and your team left Konoha to the moment Team 8 entered in this house." Meanwhile, within the residence, Kiba said to them, "Hey there, Team 7, how's it going?" in a friendly tone. As Sakura trailed behind Sasuke, he asked, "What are you and your looser team doing here, dog breath?" To the prick's infuriation and his banshee, Kiba made the decision to ignore the Sasuke. The lone courteous member of Team 7 answered, "We've been here training for a week since we had to fight that missing nin from Kirigakure Inuzuka-san. I informed you to address me as Kiba, Shino," the Inuzuka heir said. The mention of a fight and meeting missing ninjas made Naruto's ears perk up. Who was the missing nin? Was he strong? What move did he use? He asked himself. The door to the house opened again as Naruto was asking Shino more questions, and Kurenai and Kakashi entered the room once more. Kurenai spoke more like an order than a question, saying, "As a matter of fact, Naruto, I was just about to let Kakashi here debrief me about the situation of the mission. Why don't we all get comfortable and listen to his report?" Team 8 members sat down at the table and allowed Kakashi to complete his mission report. He explained to them how the Demon Brothers, 2 missing nin from Kiri with chunin ranks, had ambushed them in the first place halfway between Konoha and Wave Country. The battle was unimpressive because Shino and Sasuke defeated them fast. When Kakashi brought up Momochi Zabuza, the missing nin from Kiri with Jonin rank, Kurenai's eyes widened. She informed her team about the rumors that he had killed every student in his graduating class and that he was an old member of the Kirigakure elite swordsmen. Since Sakura and he were both genin and he could probably think of 100 ways to kill her in his sleep, Naruto was not impressed by titles or ranks. He knew that a ninja's worth was not always revealed by ranks. Naruto was impressed by the battle between Team 7 and the Kirigakure no Kijin in and of itself. Rewind. Wave Nation border. A week ago Shino had just gotten to Wave when he suddenly threw one of his kunai toward the woods. It turned out that he had only seen a stray rabbit, but moments later, Kakashi gave the order for everyone to hide just as a massive flying sword approached them. After squeezing past the sword, they noticed the assailant when they looked up. The Kirigakure no Kijin, Momochi Zabuza, was standing in front of them. Tazuna was soon surrounded by Team 7, and Kakashi battled the Mist Demon. The battle was fairly balanced until Kakashi became caught in one of Zabuza's Suiden jutsu. While Zabuza made some Mizu bunshin and flared his ki in their direction, Sasuke and Sakura stood there immobile, defying Kakashi's orders to retreat with Tazuna. In just a few seconds, the two passed out. When Shino realized this, he quickly grabbed Tazuna and fled back into Fire Country. Zabuza had to commend the young man for remaining alert and rational enough to keep his client safe even in the face of extreme stress. But he had work to do, so he used his nearest clone to pursue them while he battled Kakashi by creating a mist. With ease, he caught up to them, and as he cut the two with his massive cleaver, he was taken aback to see his two targets burst into a cloud of insects. As Shino emerged from behind a tree, he called out, "Mushi Bunshin no Jutsu." "You're impressive, boy," Zabuza said, "but that doesn't change the fact that you'll die soon." Just as he was ready to charge once more, all of his clones vanished. As hundreds of his bugs could be seen swarming around the locations where the Zabuza clones had been standing moments before, Shino remarked, "It seems you didn't notice my trap. You underestimated me, Zabuza-san. Your mist jutsu was a nice cover for my plan," Shino declared, hurling 12 shuriken in the direction of the real Zabuza, who was still using his jutsu to hold Kakashi. Zabuza was forced to release his jutsu, which let Kakashi to effectively pick up where they left off in their fight. After that, Zabuza wasted a lot of chakra creating his water clones, so Kakashi quickly exploited the situation. The fight's unsettling conclusion came when a hunter nin showed up and claimed the kill, though Kakashi clarified that this was most likely just an act by one of Zabuza's backup fighters. Flashback concludes. "That was a really impressive strategy you used, Shino. You saved all your team and Tazuna's life with your action," stated Kurenai. While Sasuke and Uchiha were fuming with jealousy, they had to watch from the sidelines as a humble bug user took all the glory, and every member of Team 8 had to agree with their sensei. Shino replied, "Thank you, Kurenai. Sensei, I did the best I could." "Alright, Kakashi, tell me where you were with your team training, what are their affinity and how many jutsu do they have?" replied Kurenai. I only know that Sasuke has a fire affinity and I just started them on the tree walking exercise today," the Cyclops finally said, perspiring as he glanced at his group. With a voice full of rage and disgust, Kurenai yelled, "What, you had them for more than a month and you only started the tree walking exercise today? In hostile territory and with at least one Jonin level opponent after your ass?" Kakashi could only chuckle at the crass yet reasonably accurate depiction of the circumstances. "Alright, I can't use them, well maybe except for Shino here, but the rest will stay here and protect Tazuna's family with you while my team and I will protect Tazuna on the bridge until it is completed," stated Kurenai. As Sasuke opened his mouth to say, "How dare you treat me like that woman? I'm Uchiha I Demon," Hinata materialized in front of him and struck a few of his pressure points, stopping him in his tracks. Hinata released his pressure points and said, "It would be best for you to stop right there, Uchiha-san. I will not tolerate you insulting sensei in my presence." Then she asked, "Are we clear, Uchiha-san?" She moved closer to the Avengers when he did not respond, but he turned back and said, "Whatever, you're just a bunch of losers," before heading back upstairs. As Akamaru leapt off his head and landed in Hinata's arms, Kiba exclaimed, "That was impressive, Hinata-chan." "Many thanks, Kiba-kun," the blushing heiress answered. After she finished speaking, Kurenai dismissed everyone and they all went to bed. Wave Country. Unidentified Overpass Team 8 had been in Wave Country for a week now. The bridge was nearly finished as the week went by quickly. But when they got there this morning, they discovered that all of the workers were unconscious on the ground and that a dense mist covered the entire bridge. Kurenai gave the order, "Formation," as Shino and Team 8 positioned themselves around Tazuna. A deep male voice uttered, "What's this? I expected to fight the copy ninja, not some woman and her children," as Zabuza and his associate emerged in the center of the bridge, still wearing their Hunter.Nin uniforms. "Hey Aburame boy, where's your sensei?" Zabuza inquired, recognizing Shino from their earlier altercation. Kurenai, displeased with the previous sexist comment, retorted, "You don't need to concern yourself with Kakashi as you will die here on this bridge today, Zabuza." With a sly grin, Zabuza pulled out his sword and his apprentice readied himself for combat as well. "Hinata, Kiba you take the fake Hunter Nin, Naruto you're with me we will take down Zabuza, Shino you guard Tazuna," stated Kurenai. Everyone yelled, "Hi," as they took their places. "Haku, please don't let me down," Zabuza commanded his apprentice, who nodded. Hinata and Kiba against Haku. "Hinata, cover me and study his style," Kiba commanded, lunging toward Haku with Akamaru trailing him. With a nod, Hinata engaged her bloodline, Byakugan, and got ready to help Kiba. Although Haku was faster, Kiba had greater strength in this fight. Covering Kiba's blind spots, Akamaru absorbed every senbon hurled from behind at his master. Haku remarked to Kiba, "You are good, better than your comrades from the other team." Kiba grinned and said, "It would be pretty hard to be lower than the duck-ass and his fangirl Banshee." Haku began to go through hand signs and said, "So true, but I can't stay here with you all day. I have to go assist Zabuza, Sama." Hayatan. Makio Hyo Sho claimed Haku had trapped Kiba, Akamaru, and himself inside an ice dome. "Wait Hinata, don't come inside unless you see I can't handle him, we still don't know what he can do," Kiba said as Hinata turned to go inside to assist her friends. Hinata nodded, still using her dujutsu to see inside the dome, but her concern was for her friends. "A good call again, but once inside this dome no one can escape the next jutsu," declares Haku. He dubbed his jutsu, Hayatan, Sensatsu Suisho, as thousands of ice senbon were launched in all directions in the direction of Kiba and Akamaru. As Akamaru took the full force of the death needles aimed at him, Kiba could only push him away. "I apologize, friend. You will need to guard Hinata for me," Kiba, who was severely weak, said to his friend. As Haku was about to advance, a blue blur appeared in front of him, but Akamaru would not move from his position. The opponent was about to finish Akamaru, and Kiba had just been taken out by a shower of senbon, which infuriated Hinata. She moved to strike Haku, but the ice ninja instantly leapt back and merged with his ice dome. To test Hinata's defense, Haku began to hurl senbon at random, and he noticed that she could easily block his senbon. Kiba needed emergency care, and Hinata decided she had no time to waste. She was trying to come up with a way to get past the ice dome technique when she thought back to her training with Team 8 on the way to Wave Country. Flashback. 2 weeks ago in Konoha Forest as her team headed toward Wave Country, Kurenai said, "Okay, let's take a break, we'll stop here for the night." When the camp was prepared, she called out to Hinata and Kiba, "Come here, I want you two to perform a little test so I can know how to train you in ninjutsu properly." It turned out that Hinata, like Kurenai, had a water affinity, but Kiba had an affinity for the earth. "I'm sorry Kiba, I don't have earth affinity like you, but once we get back I can easily get you scrolls on earth elemental manipulation or a teacher to help you," said Kurenai to her pupil. Kiba said as he went inside his tent, "It's okay sensei, I can wait, I will go sleep good night." She addressed her lone female student, saying, "Hinata, come here. I'll show you how to start on water elemental chakra manipulation." Flashback concludes since it was her only opportunity to assist Kiba, she had to try even though she didn't have much time to practice. His ice dome is mostly made of water. It seems breaking one of those mirrors won't do any good as it reforms pretty quickly, said the heiress. I have to finish my plan and get ready to attack, timing my movements with my opponent's movements with her Byakugan so that I can break his ice and catch him off guard. I only have one shot at this. Just as Haku was about to use the Sensatsu Suisho once more, Hinata suddenly moved in front of him as he was still inside the mirror creating his ice dome, costing him dearly. Hinata used all of her Suiden manipulation chakra to coat her palm, the only thing she had been able to accomplish thus far, and delivered a single Juken strike to the mirror. She was able to get out of the dome and carry on with her plan to seal all of her opponent's tenketsu. Unaware of what was happening, Haku lay motionless on the ground, unable to move. Haku said in a tone devoid of emotion, "That was magnificent, Kunoichi-san. You win. I cannot continue the fight, finish me." Hinata was astounded, both by her victory over the enemy and by his request for her to kill him. Though Kiba was beginning to come through, she was tempted to grant his wish when she heard Akamaru bark behind the dome. After realizing what the pretend hunter Nin was trying to accomplish, she turned off her Byakugan. She turned to help Kiba get up and said, "The fight is over. I will spare your life as you spared my friend's life." "I apologize, Zabuza. Sama," Haku said to himself as he remained on the ground. In the meantime, Zabuza versus Kurenai and Naruto. Zabuza stood before them and said, "Talk about a disappointment, I get to fight a woman and a boy. I'm the one who wants to cry here. I was so excited to get to fight the Kiri no Kijin and what do I get? A eyebrow. Less freak with a very doubtful sense of fashion," said Naruto with a smirk. He continued, putting his fingers in the universal sign for a small manhood. "I see you seem to really take care about your sword too. Couldn't you choose something even bigger than that to wield, you freak?" Then a broad smile spread across his face. "Unless it is to compensate for he concluded. While Zabuza, flushed with rage, threw himself at the two, Kurenai could not contain her laughter at the joke. Kurenai said, "Cover me, Naruto, while I get ready for my jutsu." "That's Roger, sensei," the blonde replied, drawing his kunai and bringing on his Futogo Kei's Ken no Jutsu. Upon Zabuza's approach, Naruto positioned himself in front of Kurenai, attempting to thwart the demon's sword just as he had done with Yugo. When Zabuza pushed him back and nearly broke his guard, he was unprepared to face the strength behind the hit. In order to stand a chance against the enemy Jonin, Naruto then went on the attack, charging his Kei's no Yoroi. When he made his first cut, he was shocked to see that Zabuza had correctly read his reach. In contrast, Yugo, the extremely skilled swordsman, had recognized Naruto's technique and avoided the cut. Zabuza, who was secretly quite impressed with the young shinobi's abilities, taunted, "Did you really think you could cut me with those puny kunai of yours, brat? That was close. He would have pierced my lungs with that slash if I had not seen a technique looking like that before." Naruto was having a hard time remaining composed, as his opponent managed to sidestep one of his strongest blows. Naruto cursed as he recalled Yugo's advice regarding his defense issue. He has even better kenjutsu senses than Yugo. "Sensei. I can't beat him in a kenjutsu-only fight, but that sword of his, I don't have anything else to block it." Zabuza's surroundings felt strange just as he was about to slash at the boy once more. Megan. Jubaku Satsu. Kurenai used her genjutsu, trapping Zabuza against an unexpected tree. Just as Kurenai was about to finish him, Zabuza managed to break free and used the momentum to take his sword, cutting her fairly deeply. How did you?" Kurenai asked, struggling to stay awake while Naruto rushed to her in an attempt to calm his instructor. At that moment, Kurenai realized what had happened when they noticed Zabuza's right leg had a deep gash. Kurenai said, "I'm sorry, but you have to stall him while I try to heal myself." Naruto used pain to get out of my genjutsu. Naruto nodded. "As if I'd let you do that, now die," exclaimed Zabuza, launching his Suiryuden no Jutsu, and a massive water dragon emerged from the river beneath the bridge. "This is the first time I use it. I could never verify its efficiency, but I have no choice, even if it will deplete me of almost all my chakra reserves. I have to do it in order to protect my precious ones," thought Naruto as he summoned his next jutsu as the water dragon was about to reach its target when the wind surrounding Kurenai and him suddenly picked up. As the wind in front of him began to pick up violently, he mentally called out, "Futon. Higuma Otoshi." Rather than striking them, Zabuza's water dragon changed course, following Naruto's wind, and rose into the sky. It then retreated and began to fall again, squarely over Zabuza. Zabuza thought to himself, damn, I can't move away with that leg, as his own water dragon shot toward him at a breakneck speed, probably helped by the blonde, enigmatic wind technique and, well, gravity from falling from such a height. By using his own method, Zabuza washed away and sent to the far end of the bridge, where he struck a sturdy stone building. When Naruto saw the outcome, he grinned before passing out and collapsing into Kurenai's arms. As Zabuza felt a kunai close to his neck, Shino prepared to finish him. He thought to himself, no chakra left, can't move my leg properly, and Haku most likely lost, or he would have already interfered in this fight. From behind the mist came a new voice that Zabuza instantly recognized. Is this supposed to be a joke, Zabuza? Zabuza said, Gato. The midget answered, well, it's all good, in the end I never planned to pay you anyway, and then he gave his mercenary troops orders to kill them all, then we'll go for the village. An arrow hit the floor in front of Gato's men as they were about to move forward. Team 7 and every wave villager prepared to defend their village, armed with whatever they could find, were on the other side of the bridge. Before charging at the mercenary with Sasuke, Kakashi said, we figured you would need some help after 2 of his goons tried to kidnap Tsunami. Oh well. Rested Kakashi presented no threat to Gato's men, and Sasuke even achieved his first victory of the battle by eliminating Gato. Sakura, however, chose to stay behind and assist the wounded. Following the removal of the trash, Zabuza was approached by the Konoha ninja, who had had time to reconcile with the fallen Haku. Okay, finish us. There's no way out, Zabuza uttered. Just as Kakashi was about to comply, Naruto suddenly awoke and exclaimed, stop, as he got up. This is my fight, I get to decide of its end as I'm the one who stopped him, stated Naruto. So finish me, Zabuza said once more. No, we don't need to fight right now, Naruto answered. Kakashi began, are you sure, Naru? But Kurenai interrupted him, saying, let my student finish Kakashi. Since Kurenai was his superior officer on this mission, Kakashi was powerless. Your contractor betrayed you, you are not bound to finish your mission any longer, Naruto continued. It changes nothing, we shall still be enemies tomorrow when we meet again on another battlefield, responded Zabuza. Naruto spoke, impressing everyone around him with his maturity. We are still enemies right now, Zabuza.san. But even 2 enemies can show respect for each other. I respect your skill as a swordsman, you are the best that I could face so far, and I actually hope that we meet again on the battlefield. After hearing the young shinobi's remarks, Zabuza's eyes grew wide. He closed them, inhaled deeply, and then addressed Naruto. Then, with a mysterious air, he carried Haku's immobilized body over his shoulder and left the area, saying, your generosity and your skill shall reach your enemies even before you have had the chance to meet them on the battlefield, young man. Kurenai, as you all returned to the village, told Naruto, Kiba, Hinata, and Shino how proud she was of you. Team 7 and Team 8 returned to Konoha after a week. Meanwhile, at the Hokage office in Konoha, Sarutobi dropped the newly edited bingo book on his desk and exclaimed, what the hell? The following was visible on the page that had been opened. Name: Uzumaki Naruto. Nickname: Konoha's K's no Kami. Age: 12.15. Rank: a status. Genin. Main attribute: Kenjutsu and Ninjutsu. Affinities: Wind bloodline. Description: has a very high affinity to the wind element. Defeated Momochi Zabuza the Kirigakure no Kijin in Wave Country. Action: approach with caution. Zabuza did indeed honor his oath on the bridge, for right now the entire elemental nations could witness the birth of a new legend. The K's no Kami was born. The main gate of Konoha they had encountered some bandits on their way back from Wave Country, but nothing nearly as bad as what they would encounter on their mission for Teams 7 and 8. When they finally reached Konoha's gate and had their IDs verified, Kurenai made the decision to go straight to the Hokage Tower and report the mission's outcome. Naruto could not help but notice the strange looks he got from the villagers as they made their way to the tower. If he were to categorize those looks, he would say they were ones of curiosity and, somewhat unexpectedly, admiration rather than the looks of fear or hatred he was used to seeing. When their teammates started getting strange looks, the other team members and their sensei noticed as well. They chose to remain silent until more information could be given. After what must have been the longest time they had ever been away from home, the majority of them wanted nothing more than to go to the tower, have a brief debriefing, be dismissed, and then, at last, go home. Hokage office. Hokage Tower. After making it to the Hokage Tower, both teams 7 and 8 were presently positioned in front of their leader in his office. Sarutobi commanded his subordinates to remain calm, saying, "Glad to see you back, team 7 and 8. It is good to be back, sir. I am here to report the result of the mission for team 7 and 8 to Wave Country Hokage. Sama," responded Kurenai. "Go ahead." "Very well," the Sandaime replied. Kurenai gave a detailed account of everything that transpired during the mission, starting from the time her team left Konoha to join Team 7 in Wave Country and ending 3 weeks later when Tazuna and his workers finished building the bridge. Sarutobi listened to Kurenai's report in silence, only nodding or frowning occasionally as she described the situation involving Team 7, how Kakashi had managed their training throughout his entire tenure, and the extent of their skill. After completing her report, Sarutobi ordered Kurenai and Kakashi to stay and dismissed all the genin but Naruto. "First, Kakashi, I will address the problem concerning the way you run your team," said Sarutobi. "I am quite disappointed with your teaching methods, or in this case lack of teaching methods. You will have to show me that you have what it takes to be a Jonin sensei or I will make you a chunin again," began the previous cage. "But Hokage Sama, Sasuke is," he began, but his leader cut him off right away. "I am perfectly aware that part of the council is pushing for you to focus more on the Uchiha heir, but I won't allow favoritism from my Jonin. Are we clear?" asked the Sandaime. Kakashi answered, "Hi, Hokage Sama. I will personally check the progress of all team members of Squad 7 during the Chunin exams that will take place in 1 week, and they better be ready for that, Kakashi, or you will discover the joys of gate guard duty again. You are dismissed," Sarutobi concluded as Kakashi left the office. After Kakashi left his office, Sarutobi used some hand signals to keep the door closed and keep prying eyes out of the room. The elderly man asked his adopted grandson, "You most likely noticed a few differences from the way some people look at you since you came back from this mission, Naruto-kun." Naruto answered, "Yes, Gigi. What's up with them? It's kind of creepy," as his leader laughed at the boy's statement. "That's what led to your current situation," the Hokage said to Kurenai and Naruto while passing a book across his desk. Kurenai recognized the book right away, and when she opened it to the final edition page, her eyes got really big. The boy did not recognize the book and asked his sensei, "What is it, sensei? What's in the book?" "That's a bingo book, Naruto. It lists all the relatively important ninja in the elemental nations," responded Kurenai. The inquisitive blonde questioned, "Really, how important do you have to have your entry in this book?" "Observe for yourself," she answered, passing him the book that was open to his page. When Naruto saw his entry in the bingo book, he was astounded. While most of the information was somewhat true, there was also a lot of information missing. His mind suddenly flashed back to Zabuza's final words, and he realized how his name had ended up in this book. "Your generosity and your skill shall reach your enemies even before you have had the chance to meet them on the battlefield, young man." Naruto was reminded of Zabuza's remarks. So that's what he meant. "So I'm in this book, what does that change for me?" asked the man. "This book gives information on you to the whole elemental nations. Every ninja village has access to it. It gives details on some of your skills and what feats you accomplished in your career. It also shows the different bounties on your head if you are important enough that some village wants you captured or dead," his instructor responded. Sarutobi, who had remained silent throughout Kurenai's explanations to her student, made the decision to offer his opinion on the current state of affairs. "Yes, Kurenai is right, Naruto. The stunt you pulled in Wave has put some focus on you. This was something we especially wanted to avoid," the elderly gentleman replied. A terrified Naruto said, "I know, Gigi, but I had to protect my precious people. I had to use one of my best moves to help sensei," as Kurenai comforted him by placing a hand on his shoulder. "Yes, Naruto, I know you did what you had to do to protect your team and I'm not mad at you. I just wanted you to be older for something like this to happen. Now other villages may try to send ninja to either harm you or try to kidnap you for their own benefit if they suspect you may have a bloodline, Naruto," the blonde replied. With everything he had just learned, Naruto was lost in thought, and the Sandaime attempted to cheer him up. Naruto's eyes widened at this specific piece of information. "Well, it's not like everything is lost in this situation. As you saw, the villagers know of your actions in Wave and many ninja now respect you a lot more. Moreover, the fact that your ability to manipulate wind to that extent became public knowledge in this manner, this made you an irreplaceable part of Konoha's forces. That also means that attempts to stop or slow your progress as a shinobi from inside Konoha will become a lot more difficult," Sarutobi went on. A skeptical Naruto inquired, "Does that mean that the council won't harass me anymore?" I wouldn't say stop for sure, more like they will happen a lot less and they will be more discreet, said Sarutobi. We are also lucky that the file does not say that your ability is a bloodline, it would have been a lot more difficult in that case, said Sandame. With determination, Naruto uttered, no one knows that this is how almost no attack could hurt Na-chan, and I plan to keep it that way. Alright Naruto, that's all for now. You are also aware from my conversation with Kakashi that the chunin exams will take place in 1 week in Konoha. I think Kurenai will agree with me that your team is ready, said the elderly gentleman as Kurenai gave them a smile. Sarutobi dismissed the two ninja in front of him and said, I won't give Team 8 any missions during that time and I suggest that you take that opportunity to rest first then train a little bit more before the exams start. The apartment of Naruto had been away from home for 3 weeks. He made the decision to take a shower, eat a quick dinner, and then go to bed. He slowly let sleep win and made his way to his mindscape. Mental Space Natsuki was currently lying on the grass in her home's garden when Naruto arrived. Laying at her side, he said, Hey there, Na-chan. Hey there Naru.kun. What are you doing here? I thought you would be tired after your long mission, said the vixen. I've missed you so much, it's been so long since I've been able to be all alone with you after all. No one around me in the real world to disrupt us, he said with a grin on his face. He smiled at her in return, and they kissed passionately for a moment before he broke eye contact and started talking to her once more. So did you hear the good news? She asked, about your entry in the bingo book? And he nodded to her. Yes, I was listening. That's amazing. I think you should remember to thank that Zabuza guy once you see him again since he basically gave you a solution to most of your problems inside Konoha, she replied with a grin. He gave her another kiss and said, it's all thanks to your training, Na-chan. I'm really grateful for all the things you did for me. I did not forget about my promise to free you from the seal either. There's just not a lot of information about Fuinjutsu that I can easily find in the village, he said in sorrow. It is true that I would be very happy to be able to hold you in my arms in the real world, but as long as we're together and that you love me I am already happy. Naru.kun. Do not trouble yourself with it. You should focus on the chunin exams coming in a week first, even if I know you are more than ready. Natsuki responded in an attempt to cheer him up. Alright Na-chan, but I'll ask the old man if he can help me with Fuinjutsu. I won't say what for, as he may not like the idea of me trying to free you. I will just say that I want to know about the art since I've learned from you that my mother was quite good at it, he replied. As he nodded and stepped out of his mindscape, she said, okay, Naru.kun. Now that it's almost morning, you should go rest to prepare for the exams. The Konoha Academy. The week long break went by very fast. Naruto simply used the chance to go to the library and learn more about the art of Fuinjutsu. He only discovered that there once existed a nation known as Uzushiogakure, where all ninja were exceptionally skilled. Regrettably, the village suffered complete destruction during the Second Shinobi War. In order to devise a plan to free Natsuki, Naruto vowed to go to the ruins and see if he could salvage anything. When he arrived at the academy's gate and saw Hinata and Kiba waiting for him, he was startled out of his reverie. As he joined his teammates, the blonde said, Hey there, Kiba, Hinata. Kiba questioned, Yo Naruto, you ready for this? Naruto said, Sure, let's head over to the designated classroom. Upon entering classroom 303, they observed that the majority of the teams had already arrived. Team 7 and Team 10 were positioned in a corner. While the others were chatting among themselves, Sakura and Yamanaka Ino were swooning over Sasuke. As Team 8 joined them, they heard Sakura discussing how Sasuke was a hero in Wave Country, how he personally killed a tyrant named Gato to free the villagers, and how he prevented a missing nin from Kiri, a chunin, from killing their client. The revisited version of the Wave Country mission left Team 8 looking very foolish, although Sakura technically did not lie, since all of the ninja from Teams 7 and 8 were regarded as heroes in Wave, at least in part. Sasuke did stop one of the demon brothers and he killed Gato after the battle was already over, but a kill is a kill, right? Despite hiding behind his long coat and sunglasses, Shino had the grace to appear embarrassed by his teammates. Sasuke, however, appeared arrogant about the compliments and allowed Sakura to tell her story to the entire village or room. Naruto ignored it since he wasn't in Wave for the glory and wasn't in the mood for some screams from Sakura. A young man wearing a leaf headband said, You should keep it down a little bit. He wore purple shinobi clothes, thin glasses, and gray hair. Who the hell are you? Exclaimed Sasuke, upset that his shining moment had been cut short. My name is Yakushi Kabuto and I was just giving my fellow Konoha shinobi some advices to not get everyone here in the room to focus too much on you before the exams start, said the Megane ninja prior to continuing. The silver-haired ninja said, "Well, since it's obviously the first time you take the exam, how about I help you a little?" Sakura timidly said, "What do you mean, Kabuto-san? How can you help us?" "These are my information cards about all the ninja in this room. Do you want to know anything from someone inside this room?" Kabuto asked the rookie's 9 as he pulled out a bunch of cards and placed them in front of him. "Yes, Uzumaki Naruto, Sabaku no Gaara, Rock Lee, and Sabaku no Gaara," Sasuke replied, recalling his interactions with the first two he inquired about. Flashback. Main Street in Konoha the day before. In the middle of the day, Shino decided to step in to protect one of the children from a group of Sunanin who were bullying some Konoha children. As he removed Konohamaru from the Sunanin, Shino remarked, "I suggest that you refrain from causing problems in a foreign village, Suna Shinobi." "I told you to stop bothering the child," Kankuro uttered the female companion of the Sunanin. A stone struck the wall behind him as he was about to attack Shino. "Tamari, shut up, I will just." The person who threw the rock was Sasuke. "Get lost, Suna trash, I missed this time but the next will be on target," the hero replied. Kankuro shot back, "Dude, you suck, your shot missed me by at least 3 meters." Just as Sasuke was about to launch another rock, he heard someone speaking from behind him. A boy with red hair and menacing eyes spoke up, right behind Sasuke. "And I suggest that you refrain from doing what you were about to do or I will be forced to kill you," he said. With a sand shunshin, the strange Sunanin used to rejoin his team, sending the surprised Sasuke falling from the tree he was standing on. Kankuro said, "Gaara, we were just..." But Gaara cut him off and said, "Shut up, let's go." "What's your name?" Gaara asked Shino before they left. The bug user asked, "Aburame Shino, and you?" The Sunanin said, "Sabaku no Gaara," before he and his group departed. Furious at being disregarded, Sasuke also departed. Finale flashback. Sasuke lost a sparring match against Rock Lee, a Konoha Genin, right before the exams. If Lee's sensei hadn't intervened to save Sasuke's behind when Lee was about to execute a forbidden move, he would have been severely injured. That's too easy, you already have their names," replied Kabuto. He provided information about Lee and Gaara, but it was not very compelling. Gaara simply appeared overly powerful because he never took any damage while on missions. Then Kabuto pulled out Naruto's data card, and as he did so, his eyes grew wide as he read the information aloud to the whole room. Kabuto drew in a deep breath and began, "Uzumaki Naruto, member of Team 8 under Yuhi Kurenai Genjutsu, mistress of Konoha. Teammates are Inuzuka Kiba and Hyuga Hinata. He has done a total of 20 D ranks and 1 A rank missions. Oh my, he is also the only Genin to have ever made it into the bingo book, classified as a rank shinobi, to engage with caution. He defeated Momochi Zabuza the Kiri no Kijin in Wave Country, where he is considered a hero for his action leading to the fall of the local bandit warlord Gado." He had finished reading about Naruto. Shikamaru sighed and replied, "Sakura, didn't you say that it was Sasuke who was the hero of Wave and that he saved them all due to his fight with a Kiri missing nin? He really just killed a bandit?" While Sakura was cursing the boy with the pineapple hair for having a perfect memory, Sasuke was once again furious at being humiliated in front of everyone. With the exception of teams 7 and 8, everyone in the room was now staring at Naruto as if he had grown a second head. Subsequently, Kabuto proceeded to inform the novices about the examinations and the various participating villages. A group from the Sound Village attacked him as soon as he implied that it was a relatively new and weak village. A smoke explosion cut short their plans before they could proceed further. Morino Ibiki, the proctor of the Chunin exam's first section, silenced the group and threatened to disqualify anyone who disobeyed his orders before going on to explain his portion of the test. "May the Chunin exam's first part begin," he exclaimed after he had finished going over the rules. Classroom 303 at Konoha Academy. Naruto was waiting for his team to move as the Genin were beginning their written exam. Naruto read the test's initial questions and realized right away what was going on because Team 8 was a natural at tracking down information. With her Byakugan activated, Hinata looked at Kiba and saw that he was doing well because he had begun writing answers on his exam sheet with the assistance of his friend Akamaru. Hinata also understood the true purpose of the test. She knew what Naruto wanted when she noticed that he was glancing in her direction. She swiftly filled in all the test answers from a guy in front of her using her bloodline, who had oddly already completed them all. She purposely left her name blank where it should have been. She gave Naruto a fake cough as a way to let him know she was done. As soon as Naruto received the signal, he began to channel wind chakra. Suddenly, A powerful gust of wind appeared in the exam room, disrupting the proceedings long enough for him to switch to Hinata's paper and then, grinning, deactivate his jutsu. Hinata simply took her time filling in the answers as she had minutes earlier, when the exam resumed. After that, Team 8 awaited the test's conclusion and was not duped by the final, do or die, question. A purple blur appeared through the window as Ibiki was finishing up the first section of the exams. The proctor for the second exam section was Mitarashi Anko. She grinned viciously as she introduced herself to the Genins who advanced to the next round and saw Naruto. Much to the annoyance of one particular vixen, she declared in front of everyone, Naru-chan, you made it. It's been such a long time, did you miss me? Natsuki snarled, she's still as annoying as ever. In his thoughts, Naruto answered, calm down, Na-chan. Anko. Sensei is my friend, she's just kidding. Okay. Maggots, follow me to training ground 44 for the next part, she said, disappearing from the room in the same manner that she had entered, leaving the classroom completely damp with perspiration. Ground of Training 44. Naruto encountered the Suna shinobi Kabuto had mentioned earlier. If memory serves him correctly, he went by the name Gaara. This was during Enko's explanation of the guidelines for the second part of the chunin exams, which would take place in the Forest of Death for a 5-day survival test. The redhead proclaimed, Mother wants your blood, I will kill you during the next part. Who? Naruto inquired, looking perplexed. Moth, was Gaara's response as the blonde cut him. With a sly grin, Naruto said, whatever dude, look trash talk before the game is a sign of weakness, leaving a very irate Suna nin in his wake. As soon as Naruto returned, Kiba questioned, what did he want? Naruto answered, I'm not sure, I think he wanted to talk trash. As they approached their assigned starting location, Kiba said, well, let's get ready, the exam is about to start. Okay. The second half of the chunin exams begins now, Enko yelled as the 44 training ground doors opened to admit the competitors. Time. Skip. After a day. Having swiftly eliminated a team from AIM that attempted to trick them with Henge, Team 8 was fortunate to possess the scroll that Naruto's team required to finish this section of the test. They made the decision to quietly make their way to the tower and then unwind for the time they had left. After several hours of running through the trees, Naruto finally spoke. As his teammates began to slow down from their running to set up camp for the night, Naruto asked them, so how long are you two planning to hide from me that you're dating each other? Hinata was blushing profusely, and Kiba was on the verge of losing his balance and falling off the tree. Kiba said, what are you talking about as Naruto cut him. I may not be as good as you but my nose never failed me and I can smell Hinata's perfume all over you, replied Naruto. Kiba was the one to speak after Hinata and she exchanged a glance and a smile. The Inuzuka heir asked his teammate, alright, we confess, but you can't tell this to anyone. Naruto grinned and said, my lips are sealed, but I want to say that I'm happy for you guys. Thanks, buddy, Kiba uttered. Thank you, Naruto.kun, Hinata continued. Since they first formed a team, Hinata had undergone significant transformation. Naruto recalled the exchange he had with her, which had probably caused her perception of him to shift. Flashback. Following Naruto's assessment with Kurenai and her companions. It was only a few minutes after Kurenai's friends Anko and Yugo left the training area that Hinata and Kiba showed up for their team meeting. Naruto approached Hinata and asked her to go out with him for a quick chat because he was still a little tired from his previous test and he wanted to use the opportunity to take care of something else he had planned to do. Hinata blushed violently at what Naruto had just said to her, but before Kurenai gave her the go ahead, she glanced at her sensei. Then she went into the woods after Naruto. The girl said, What is it, Naruto.kun? Hinata, despite what everyone thinks I'm not an idiot, I saw how you look at me and how you react to me anytime I try to speak to you, Naruto said to her in a calm and collected manner after taking a deep breath. The blonde added, I don't think what you feel for me is really love though. Hinata started to say, what do you mean Naruto.kun? Ever since you saved me from those boys all those years ago But Naruto interrupted her. That's exactly why Hinata. What you feel for me is admiration. You admire me standing up to those who oppressed you, something you always wanted to do against your family and their strict rules. He continued before adding, moreover you only know the fake me, a mask that I show to the world in order for them to leave me alone. I play the fool and it's not me, not the real me Hinata. I won't lie to you either, there's someone else in my heart. I've known her for a long time now and she knows me too, the real me. I finally confessed to her yesterday and she loves me back. That's also the reason why I can't return your feelings, he continued. I comprehend Naruto. A dejected but persuaded Hinata uttered. I hope we can still work together as a team, and I know that with some good training you can become one of the best kunoichi the leaf has ever produced. Hinata, I would be glad to help you train every once in a while, completed Naruto. Hinata questioned, why? You really mean it? You don't think I'm weak? I know that you are strong, Hinata, you just have to realize it yourself and nothing could stop you. You are after all the kunoichi of the year, Naruto said in a humorous manner. As they headed back to the training ground, Hinata, who was surprisingly not stuttering, said, thank you Naruto. They had no idea that Kurenai was listening in on everything behind them while concealed in a very subtle genjutsu. Kurenai dispelled her jutsu and shushned back, thinking to herself, I was right to request this team. They will do great in the future and I will help them achieve their dreams. Finale flashback. So, how long has this been going on? The inquisitive blonde asked the still, shocked couple. Since the wave mission, right after Hinata. Chan put that emo king in his place if you want to know exactly when, replied Kiba with a grin. Does sensei know? Naruto inquired once more. Kiba began, but was cut off by a yelling voice. Naruto answered, let's go check it out, it's not far from here. It took them only a few short seconds to run to where the scream came from. The teams from Suna and AIM were positioned in front of each other. One of the AIM nin was being held captive by the red-haired guy who attempted to talk to Naruto prior to the exams using an odd sand manipulation jutsu. He then abruptly made a jutsu call. As the sand surrounding his opponent abruptly shrank and crushed the unlucky nin inside, blood spattering everywhere, Sabaku Susu, called Gaara. The brutality of the kill also shocked Naruto and Kiba, and Hinata nearly pulled a feint at the scene. Even though the AIM nin's teammates attempted to flee, they were unable to stop the red-headed killing machine. Be careful, Naru-kun. I sense demonic chakra coming from him, Natsuki said, suddenly sensing a presence in the boy she never thought she would feel again. Are you sure, Chan? The blonde inquired. Yes, I'm positive that's the Ichibi's Jinchuriki. Be very prudent around him, like you he has an ability from his Biju. He can control sand with his chakra like you do with your wind. The vixen responded. After exchanging a quick glance with Naruto, Kiba, who was now holding an unconscious Hinata in his arms, agreed not to confront the psychotic unless absolutely necessary and returned to their camp. After returning, Naruto started talking. We will only rest until Hinata is up, then we will sprint to the tower. There will be more at ease than now. With a nod, Kiba began tidying up the camp while he waited for his girlfriend, Akamaru, to awaken from her sleep. It was evident that Naruto was disturbed to learn that someone similar to him had become a thoughtless killer. He was terrified because all he could think about was what his life would have been like had he never met Natsuki. Sensing her mate's anxiety, Natsuki attempted to calm him down by telling him not to worry about what might have been Naru-kun. Instead, focus on where you are now and what you have, including me, your teammates, the old man, your sensei, and her friends. Though I'm not the biggest fan of the snake lover one these days, ranting in his head. That helped him to relax a little because Hinata was at last returning. After 2 hours of non-stop running, they eventually reached the tower. As soon as they were inside, they noticed that the Suna team had arrived before them. They simply passed them by as they arrived at the waiting area. After 3 days, additional teams made their way to the tower, including the team led by Rock Lee and the 9 rookies. The Suna team was there, of course. Naruto also encountered the Auto team that caused such a commotion on the first exam. There was also the team of Kabuto. Naruto saw Sasuke clutching his neck anguishedly as the other genin lined up in the tower's main hall. It appeared as though the Avenger had been bitten by a strange bug, and Naruto could feel a nearly demonic force emanating from the strange bites. Naruto dismissed it with a shrug, figuring that perhaps Shino's Kikai creatures were sent against them by the bug user as a result of the Uchiha's ego or the pink bitch's screamed voice. Naruto smiled at the thought, then turned his attention to what the elderly man was saying to them all. After giving the genin some motivation regarding the chunin exams and their significance, Sarutobi had a sickly jonin start explaining the subsequent portion of the exams. Seeing that there's a little bit too many of you, we will proceed to a preliminary tournament to lower the number of contestants who will face each others during the exams finals. Explained the now known Giko Hayate. Unexpectedly, Kabuto gave up when Hayate asked if anyone wanted to give up for the next round, claiming he was too exhausted to go on. Okay, if no one else wants to withdraw from the exam, we will start the fights. The preliminary round of the chunin exam finals was about to begin. Tower Central in the Forest of Death, just 3 ninja remained in the ring as the other genin and their sensei moved out of the center of the room toward the stairs on the sides that led to the viewing area. The referee, Giko Hayate, was first, followed by Uchiha Sasuke and Akado Yoroi, whose names had just been called moments earlier. They had ostensibly been chosen at random and were now on display on a massive electronic screen at the back of the room. Sasuke Uchiha versus Yoroi Akado. The battle started off swiftly. Yoroi was only employing taijutsu, and unexpectedly, so was Sasuke. Why wasn't the Avengers employing his signature fireball maneuvers? Naruto wondered. Sasuke defeated Yoroi with an unusual taijutsu combo. Naruto turned to his teammates and said, "I have to admit, the last move the Uchiha came up with was quite something." Naruto.kun didn't invent that on his own, Hinata retorted, and Naruto arched an eyebrow in response. Bewildered, Naruto asked, "What do you mean?" Hinata, who had occasionally witnessed Neji's team training in the past, explained, "It is a taijutsu move used by Maeda Guy, my cousin Neji's sensei, and Rock Lee, the one Sasuke asked about in the beginning of the exams with Kabuto.san. I see, he must have awakened his bloodline during the time after the wave mission, and now, to think that the bastard would use it copy one of his own ally technique," examined Naruto. Though they remained silent, Lee and Guy appeared a little shaken by what they saw in the arena. After assisting Sasuke in exiting the ring, Kakashi simply took the Avengers somewhere. The next fight began when the board flashed once more. Abumi Zaku versus Aburame Shino once again demonstrated his mastery of strategy by devising a 3-pronged plan to defeat his opponent. He started by displaying his Kikai bugs to the public. This was to divert attention while a swarm of those bugs stealthily moved around Zaku, who was oblivious. Shino finally sent a small group of his familiars to sabotage his enemy's arms, his weapons, while the Auto Nin was running around, terrified at the sight of the first trap. In the end, Zaku used his own jutsu to blow up his arms, which put an end to the fight. Then it was time for the next fight, Masumi Tsurugi versus Kankuro Sabaku. Once more, the battle ended quickly. Kankuro revealed himself to be a puppet master, and when his opponent attempted to defeat him with a taijutsu move, his body transformed into a puppet. The real Kankuro operated the dummy body with chakra strings concealed in his peculiar backpack. After that, his opponent was defeated rather quickly. The next battle turned out to be incredibly dull. Haruno Sakura versus Yamanaka Ino. The two fangirls' fight didn't impress anyone, and they ended up in a double KO. No one will advance to the next round as none of the contestants can continue the fight, Hayate said, announcing the next bout. Sabaku no Tamari versus Tenten. One more kunoichi fight, but this one turned out to be far more intriguing. Naruto was especially curious about Tenten's skill at sealing scrolls and decided it would be a good idea to question her about it later. Tenten was very reliant on her weapons. Tamari used a large ass fan to block every blow Tenten threw at her by hurling wind attacks with it. It was the first time Naruto had come across a wind user who wasn't him. Tenten lost when Tamari employed the Ninfo Kamaitachi, another combination of her fan and wind technique. The next fight was then announced. Against Nara Shikamaru, Kintsuchi. Shikamaru did not enjoy having to fight a woman, but he won his match without much of a struggle because of a well-thought-out strategy. At last, someone from Team 8 was summoned. Naruto Uzumaki versus Kinuta Dosu. Naruto recognized his opponent from the first exam section. He belonged to the group that assaulted Kabuto for claiming that Oto was a small, helpless village. This Oto Nin was intriguing because, despite not making direct contact with Kabuto when he struck him, Kabuto still sustained some sort of internal injury. Naruto surmised that Kabuto's injuries were caused by the special device the shinobi had on his arms. Naruto was startled out of his reverie by Dosu's conversation with him. Dosu played along, saying, "So you're that kid from the bingo book that Kabuto guy was speaking about. Must be some kind of bull from Konoha nins banding together to scare the opposition by spreading fake rumors like that." However, Naruto simply remained where he was, not even flinching. When Dosu realized Naruto had rejected his offer, he made the decision to charge. Finally, they engaged in a taijutsu spar. Occasionally, as they were trading blows, Naruto felt the wind around him change, as if it were bending to follow the Auto Nin's movements. Though much weaker and slower than what he had usually encountered against Kurenai or Anko, the enemy's movements were still quite good. Just as he was about to finish his opponent with a Kitsune Yurei, he lost his balance and nearly fell to the ground. In addition, his head was hurting and his vision was beginning to become blurry. So it seems my attacks are finally starting to affect you. I was starting to wonder if you were immune to them, replied Dosu. When Naruto realized what had happened, he said, "Why? Your arms, the sound." "Exactly, the sound. Do you even know what a sound really is?" replied Dosu. Still attempting to stay awake, Naruto answered, "Vibrations." "You are correct, and if you can hear a sound, it means that your ears were able to pick up the vibrations in the air," Dosu said, resuming the fight and sprinting straight toward Naruto. "There is no defense against my attacks, and with my next attack I will rupture your internal hearing system," Dosu continued. Naruto considered his options and said, "Shit, I can't let him hit me again with that move or I'm done for," before deciding on his next move. After he began using hand signals, Naruto announced his technique to Dosu as he was getting closer. "Futon. Sabamagashi," he said, tossing away 2 kunai. The more seasoned ninja nearby were taken aback by what Naruto simply referred to as his jutsu. Every Jonin plus level ninja in the room asked, "Those were the hand signs for the kunai kage bunshin no jutsu, why did he call it Sabamagashi?" "I don't know what technique you tried to use, but it obviously failed. You can't even properly throw a kunai straight at me after being hit by my jutsu earlier," taunted Dosu as he continued to run straight to Naruto to finish the job. The kunai went around Dosu, missing him from a good meter on each side. The 2 kunai Naruto launched abruptly separated in 10 kunai each, and his conceit caused him to miss the looks of surprise on everyone's faces. Subsequently, the duo of kunai abruptly redirected their course and curved back to aim directly at the back of the gullible Dosu. The kunai barrage formed like a flock of birds and dove in a straight line to pierce the back of the Auto Nin. Dosu's entire body began to hurt, to the point where he could only blink. Luckily, none of the kunai struck a vital area, but the pain was so severe that he quickly passed out. In a completely silent room, the doctors went to stop the bleeding as quickly as possible and declared Naruto the winner. Team 8, Anko, and the elderly man were the only 5 individuals who comprehended some of what Naruto referred to as Sabamagashi. So he did have to use hand signs and call the jutsu out loud after all to perform a jutsu that is not entirely based on wind manipulation. Examined the Sandame. Yugo will be pleased to know that he put one of the jutsu she taught him on weapons to use in a fight so fast, combining it with wind chakra no less, Anko said with a grin on her face. As Naruto rejoined Team 8 in the observation area, Kurenai praised him, saying, "A good fight, Naruto. Great strategy against something you didn't expect. You turned what he thought as a weakness he created on you into a distraction to prevent him from noticing your attack until it was too late." Naruto thanked his sensei and said, "Your turn now, Kiba and Hinata. You have to pass this round too." Just as the next fight was announced, Naruto added to his teammates. Hyuga Neji vs Hyuga Hinata. The most illustrious family of Konoha's taijutsu style was demonstrated in the battle between Hinata and Neji. Neji was initially taken aback by Hinata's unusually high level of confidence and her apparent improvement in her overall gentle fist mastery proficiency. However, Neji had far more experience and had been practicing the family craft seriously for a lot longer than she had. Thus, he ultimately gained the upper hand in the battle and stopped a significant portion of her tenketsus. She never gave up on her attitude, which was starting to irritate him. He tried to kill her, but Jonins who did not want anyone to die needlessly stopped him. Because of outside intervention, he was deemed the winner. He gave Kiba and Naruto stern looks as he walked away. Then it was time for the next fight. Sabaku no Gaara vs Rock Lee. The majority of the ninja in the room were surprised by how much stronger Lee turned out to be. He was as fast as a shinobi at the Jonin level and employed extremely powerful taijutsu techniques. However, Naruto was already aware of how the match would conclude. He recalled telling Natsuki that Gaara was someone who was similar to him. That is, Jinchuriki for Shukaku, the one-tailed raccoon. Ultimately, Lee employed an advanced taijutsu technique that defied the limits of human anatomy, yet it was unable to cause Gaara any significant harm. In contrast, Gaara attempted to kill the Konoha shinobi, but all he succeeded in doing was severely hurting Lee by crushing both of his arms and legs. Guy intervened during the fight to save his student's life before the insane redhead could finish Lee. Due to Guy's intervention, Gaara was declared the winner by default and returned to the watching zone to await his team. The final fight of the day was about to begin. Kiba Inuzuka vs Choji Akamichi in the ring. Kiba and Choji competed against one another for the final spot in the chunin exams. As they prepared for the fight by using their unique techniques right away, neither of them wasted any time. Choji was referred to as Ninpo, Baika no Jutsu, as he changed into a massive human sphere. As Akamaru changed into a second Kiba, Kiba uttered the words, Ninpo, Jujin Bunshin no Jutsu. They then declared a jutsu attack on one another. As the human sphere that Choji had transformed into moments before started to rotate on itself and charge at Kiba and Akamaru, Nikuden Sensha, called Choji. A double tornado named Gatsuga was directed towards Choji while Kiba summoned his jutsu. Everyone's eyes were covered in a massive cloud of dust as the two jutsu collided. Kiba and Akamaru were on the ground, panting and slightly bleeding, while Choji, still in his spherical form, looked the same as before as the cloud broke. The Inuzuka heir reflected, damn, his jutsu has more power than mine. I won't be able to get past him like that. I need to slow down his rotation power if I want a chance to defeat him, said Kiba. Choji charged at Kiba once more, but this time Kiba used hand signals instead of launching his Gatsuga right away, introducing a new move known as Doden, Doryu Taiga. As Choji charged at him, a massive torrent of mud appeared in front of him. While Choji's movements were not entirely stopped, they were considerably slowed down as more and more dirt was gathered by the Akamichi's air jutsu. Kiba then utilized Gatsuga once more on the Nikuden Sensha's weaker form, and this time, he defeated it. The force behind the attack knocked out Choji, and Hayate announced Kiba as the winner of the final qualifying match of the preliminary rounds. After returning to his squad, Kiba thanked Kurenai for his assistance in manipulating Doden. Following that, each competitor who had advanced to the finals was given a number that would determine their opponents for the finals rounds, which were scheduled to take place in Konoha's stadium in a month. As soon as everyone called their number, the matchups appeared on a screen. First match, Hyuga Neji against Inuzuka Kiba. Match 2, Aburame Shino vs Sabaku no Kankuro. Match 3, Sabaku no Tamari vs Nara Shikamaru. Match 4, Sabaku no Gaara vs Uzumaki Naruto. Match 5, Uchiha Sasuke takes on Match 4's Victor. Each competitor stole a quick glance at their potential rivals, but the Sandaime dismissed them all with a wish to train hard for the next month and good luck. Finally, Naruto and his group of friends and sensei emerged from the Forest of Death. Ground of Training 8 yesterday marked the conclusion of the chunin exam preliminary rounds, and Kurenai was quite pleased with her students. The only person to miss the finals was Hinata, but Kurenai said she had nothing to be ashamed of because even though Hinata lost, she performed a commendable job of fighting against Neji, who has more experience than her. In order to get ready for the finals, Kurenai asked her team if they would like to train in any specific subject over the next month. Kiba retorted that he would train with his family all month long to hone the jutsu he already possessed. He claimed that following his battle with Choji, he came to the realization that his Gatsuga was not as strong as it ought to have been since he had not yet mastered his family's techniques. Kiba gladly accepted his sensei's suggestion to see Kurenai if he ever needed additional assistance manipulating the Doden chakra. Due to the injuries she sustained in her altercation with her cousin Neji, Hinata would need to take a minimum of 1 month off from work before being cleared by doctors to return to her kunoichi responsibilities. Kurenai turned her head to face Naruto after nodding. After considering what he would work on during the break, Naruto decided that if he wanted to have a chance of defeating the other Jinchuriki Gaara, he needed a trump card in his toolbox. His wind techniques might not be powerful enough to defeat the Suna Shinobi's sand-based jutsu. He pointed to his stomach, which contains Natsuki's seal, and said to her, "I'm not sure about my training for the month, sensei. I had plans to go meet the old man today in order to figure something out." Okay. With Kiba and Hinata going their way, we don't need to hold team meetings every day anymore for the remaining chunin exams. Just come to me if you need anything, Kurenai said as she dismissed her students, acknowledging his gesture with a nod of acceptance. Office of Hokage approaching the old man's office, Naruto went in the same way he always did. He kicked the door open with his foot and let out a loud cry. The blonde asked, "Hey old man, you got a minute?" "Yes Naruto, what can I do for you my boy, shouldn't you be training for the finals?" responded Sarutobi. Naruto told the village chief that he didn't know what he should concentrate on to compete with the Suna Jinchuriki and that Gaara was a host like him. Sarutobi paused for a moment before saying once more, "As you know your mother was chosen as a host before you because of the Uzumaki bloodline that allowed her to have some control over the Biju. I don't know a lot about her bloodline other than it was only the female Uzumaki who could do it, but I think that the other Uzumaki should also have had some other way to defend themselves against the powers of Bijus. But there's no record left on the Uzumaki in the village Jiji. How will I be able to find anything relevant to my ancestors?" replied Naruto. Sarutobi appeared perplexed by the blonde's inquiry as well. In his head, Natsuki said, Naru.kun, I think I know where we could find information about the Uzumaki. Really? Where? Naruto asked himself in his head. Do you remember Uzushiogakure? It's the place where your mother came from. Even though it was destroyed in the Second Shinobi War, I'm sure you could still find something useful there, said the vixen. With a widening of his eyes, Naruto expressed his desire to travel to his mother's country and perhaps discover a means of releasing Natsuki from the seal. Gigi, what about Uzu no Kuni, or more precisely what's left of it? I'm sure I could find something useful for me there, and I think that I need to visit the country where my mother was born and all my ancestors before her, replied Naruto. I think that's a great idea, Naruto.kun. However, I can't let you go alone, and I don't have any resource left to spare since the village's forces are already under a lot of stress with the patrols and gate duties increased due to the chunin exams. Sarutobi replied to Naruto. I can't ask Kurenai Sensei to come with me for a month-long trip outside the village. Kiba or Hinata may need her more than me during that time, thought the frustrated Naruto. Although Sarutobi was disappointed that he was unable to support his adopted grandson, he had to maintain his sense of justice. He could not command one of his subordinates to accompany Naruto to Uzu no Kuni without a valid reason. He considered the person he could send on a covert, off-the-record, mission who could remain undetected. That shinobi would need to be cool enough to handle Naruto's brash attitude while still being strong enough to defend him. His eyes widened suddenly as he realized he had just found Naruto the ideal escort. Yes, I think it is highly time that those two meet, he thought. Naruto, I may have someone who could go with you to Uzu no Kuni. He is also strong enough to supervise your training while you try to find traces of your ancestors. Sarutobi replied with a grin on his face. Who is it, Gigi? I thought you said everyone was busy at the moment, replied Naruto. Well, he is not exactly under my direct command and he has free travel rights, so he isn't required to stay to protect the village at all time. It just happened that he came back this morning, replied the elderly gentleman. Give him this letter and he will understand the situation, Sarutobi continued, passing Naruto a letter bearing his seal. Here, you will find him at this address. Naruto replied, thank you, Gigi, I'll see you in a month. Then he departed the office to go look for the enigmatic man. The onsen in Konoha. When Naruto arrived at the bathhouse, he was perplexed as to how Sarutobi had known this mysterious man would be there. He was even more taken aback when the elderly man declined to identify the man, stating that it would be preferable if the man gave a formal introduction. He heard odd noises coming from the building's side just as he was ready to go inside. He noticed a man looking down into the bathing area from a tall tree as he circled around. The man was laughing and jotting down notes in a little handbook. Since the man was hiding fairly high up in that tree, Naruto was unable to see his face. The only indication of his presence was his scratching and giggling. If there was one thing Kurenai gave Naruto, it was a dislike for perverts. As he considered the most effective way to deal with this pervert, he mentally summoned a jutsu. Futon. Furyuden no Jutsu was how Naruto quietly performed his jutsu move against the pervert's hiding tree. The wind dragon tore through the middle of the tree, bending the top portion at precisely the correct angle to allow the unwary pervert to tumble into the women's side bathing area. It appears that the women inside did not appreciate being bothered and stared at while they were lounging. If Naruto's information from the other side of the wall was accurate, the pervert must have taken the beating of his life. Feeling content with his efforts, Naruto made the decision to enter the men's section and locate the teacher there. The man had strange red markings on his face and long white hair, according to his Gigi. As he was ready to go into the men's locker room, he noticed the pervert leaving the women's area, slightly injured but not severely. Then, as Naruto studied the man, his eyes grew wide. Long white hairs, those red lines on his face. Oh my god, he's the one Gigi was talking about, he exclaimed. Naruto said, hey pervert, did you enjoy the beating? The man charged at Naruto, saying, so that was you. But Naruto just stood there, holding the letter with the Hokage seal in his hand. The man who was approaching halted and picked up the letter. His eyes grew wide as he read the letter, occasionally glancing at Naruto. Before returning the letter to Naruto, he thought to himself, so that's Minato and Kushina's kid. Sensei is finally letting me take him out of the village, this should be fun. Then, as he addressed the small boy in front of him, the lecherous, perverted expression on his face abruptly changed to one of seriousness. Okay, I understand your situation and I'll go with you on your trip, he replied. I don't see why the old man would choose a pervert like you to be my escort, much less the instructor to supervise my training for the month to come, said Naruto. The pervert answered, follow me outside, you'll understand soon enough. With a nod from Naruto, They left the bathhouse and the man led Naruto to the nearest vacant training ground. Ground of Training 17. When they got to the middle of the field, the man motioned for Naruto to sit down, and after making sure that nobody else was present for the impending discussion, he followed suit. Alright, let me introduce myself first. I'm Jiraiya of the Senin and I was a student under the Sandame. I'm in charge of Konoha's spy network, so that's why I'm almost never inside the village, replied the now known Jiraiya. In his thoughts, he added, that's also the reason why I couldn't take care of you earlier. Jiraiya is currently one of the best shinobi in the Leaf, if not the best, and Naruto's eyes widened as he recognized the name. He was on the team that Gigi used to train a long time ago, along with 2 other people. Each of them was said to be capable of taking on an entire army by themselves in the book he had read about them. And you know about my reason for going there? Naruto inquired, fearing that the man would harbor ill will toward him for having harbored Natsuki. Yes, the Hokage explained the situation in his letter, that you would face the Suna Jinchuriki in the finals. I also know about your burden, Jiraiya responded. Naruto grinned, realizing that there was someone else who did not despise him for carrying Natsuki within him. Although he was extremely perverted and a little strange, he was also strong and seemed trustworthy. He decided to trust his gut and made the choice. The young blonde man bowed to the Senin and said, I thank you for agreeing to come with me to find my mother's homeland, and I would be honored to have you supervise my training for the month to come. Jiraiya got up and said, all right, drop the formalities, pack your things, we leave tomorrow morning at dawn. Naruto said, okay Arrow. Senin. See you tomorrow, and shuffled out of the area. Hearing the nickname, Jiraiya nearly fell back, but he grinned and walked out of the clearing as well. Time. Skip. After a week their journey to finally arrive at Uzu no Kuni took a week. The quickest route was to return on foot to Wave and then take a boat to the remains of Whirlpool Country's ancient civilization. As of right now, they were on the boat and could see the island of Uzu. Jiraiya had assessed Naruto's proficiency in all the ninja arts during their journey. He had reached the same conclusion as Kurenai and her friends. At the moment, Naruto was at most Tokubetsu Jonin and at least High Chunin. Jiraiya made the decision to strengthen Naruto's fundamental chakra control because he knew Kurenai would address the boy's genjutsu problems later. He was shocked to learn that Naruto could control the wind element, and since Jiraiya could use all 5 elemental elements, he agreed to assist the boy in his tests so he could fend off every elemental technique that was thrown at him. He also began instructing Naruto in the fundamentals of the art of fuinjutsu. The elderly recluse thought, he's talented. Sometimes it hurts because it reminds me so much of Minato. Jiraiya instructed Naruto to use pure chakra alone. Wind was not permitted. In order to burst the water balloon he was working with. He was making good progress since he began the exercise yesterday and realized that he had to spin the water inside the balloon until it burst. I wonder what I'm doing wrong. Maybe I should work on the path of the water inside the balloon again, the brunette thought. When the boat eventually came to the coast, the teacher and the student were jolted out of their reverie. In order to give themselves enough time to return to Konoha, they made an agreement with the boat's captain to meet again at the same location in 2 weeks. Okay, here's how we will work for the next 2 weeks. You will train with me every day from dawn to approximately 5 p.m. Then you will be free to explore and do whatever you want from there. Jiraiya was announced and Naruto gave a nod. Finally, 2 days after they arrived, Naruto used just chakra to pop the water balloon. Jiraiya then forced him to begin an increasingly difficult exercise in which he had to use his chakra to pop a rubber ball. Naruto had begun exploring the island in the interim. He hasn't discovered anything intriguing thus far. The majority of the remnants of the ancient Whirlpool village had already been destroyed by time and nature. He recalled being let down by Natsuki's response when he had asked her if she knew anything. Rewind. 2 days prior, alright, training is done for today. Do you know where I should start to search for my mother's ancient village now? Chan, replied Naruto. I'm sorry Naru.kun. Unlike with you, I didn't interact a lot with your mother. The sealing technique seems different too. I wasn't able to access her senses from inside her seal the same way I can with yours. I didn't have access to her memories either. All I know about her is what she told me on the rare occasions she visited her mindscape. Natsuki responded. It's okay Na. Chan, I'm sure we'll figure out something. I still have 2 weeks left and I could always come back later, Naruto replied. Flashback concludes 2 days later. Naruto used his chakra to successfully blow up the rubber ball. The secret this time was to focus his chakra while putting the lessons he had learned from the first stage into practice. His investigation into the wreckage of his mother's hometown advanced further when he discovered the hidden entrance to what looked to be the Azukage Tower, given the enormous whirlpool sign at the entrance, no less. With the assistance of several cage buncheons, he was able to remove the debris that was obstructing the entrance. After entering, he reached a dead end. The door in front of him was sealed in an odd red seal. That's a blood seal, Naru.kun. Most likely only one with Uzumaki blood can go through this door. You have to apply some of your blood on the seal and the door will open. Natsuki thought to himself. When he followed the instructions, the door opened. The majority of the rooms within the building had collapsed, leaving him with only one room that appeared to have withstood the previous war. There was a blood seal on the door to that room once more. With most of the books being old and hardly readable, this room must have been some sort of library. A peculiar shrine stood in the middle of the space, and a scroll bearing the same blood seal that Naruto had previously seen on the doors rested atop it. His eyes expanded upon reading the scroll, which he had unlocked with his blood. It is highly likely that you are the last Uzumaki left in this world if you are reading this. Our village was unexpectedly attacked by Kiri, Kumo, and Iwa, and we were unable to contact our Leaf allies in time before they encircled our territory. Despite our greatest efforts, we were unable to repel an enemy force that outnumbered us 10-1. I'm one of the few men left standing after we lost most of our men trying to guard the village's main gate this morning. I have sealed our two most valuable treasures in this scroll. The Uzumaki Scroll of Seals, which houses the majority of our Fuinjutsu works, is the first. The dragons are our faithful allies from long ago. However, only an Uzumaki can be accepted as a summoner for the dragons, and anyone else who tries to bond with them will die in an agonizing pain. This is our sacred summoning scroll. I've sealed these in the hopes that one day a member of our bloodline will prove to the world that the Uzumaki are still alive and reclaim our position as the most powerful clan. From Uzumaki Kazuma, the final Azukage of Whirlpool, best of luck. Since he had only begun to learn the fundamentals with Jiraiya on the Fuinjutsu scroll, Naruto made the decision to postpone reading it. Still, it was a goldmine for his upcoming investigations into breaking Natsuki's seal. He opened the dragon summoning contract, signing his name on it as instructed by Natsuki and the scroll. Once finished, he was teleported from his current location to an unfamiliar location, causing him to experience strange physical sensations. Calling the world, it appeared as though he was perched atop a mountain, with no view of the earth below. A massive black dragon appeared out of nowhere, startling him out of his reverie. The creature roared as it landed in front of Naruto, asking, "Who dares to use our old contract with the Uzumaki royal family to come to this sacred place?" "My name is Uzumaki Naruto and I found the scroll inside the ruins of the ancient village of Whirlpool," replied the blonde. "Uzumaki, you say? Be warned that you will die if you lied to me. Now come here and pass the test to prove your worth," the dragon replied. The dragon abruptly swung at Naruto and bit his forearm as he got closer. Naruto winced at the pain, but decided not to panic because he knew that this was probably a test. "You have indeed the blood of our loyal friends the Uzumaki flowing through your veins. You may call me Ryo, I am the leader of the dragon family. We will answer to you call each time you ask for us, Uzumaki Naruto," the Dragon King said while bowing to his fresh summoner. Naruto also bowed and said, "It is my honor to unite the Uzumaki clan to our old allies, the dragons." Ryo unsummoned Naruto to his original location within the Whirlpool's ruins, saying, "I will see you soon, young hatchling." Return to Uzu. When Naruto emerged from the sealed room, he saw a dragon tattoo on his left forearm, the spot where Ryo had bitten him. According to the scroll, Naruto could now summon dragons by simply spreading blood on it. It was said to be the sign of the dragon summoner. After discovering what he was searching for, he left the ruins and returned to their camp with Jiraiya. He used the last few days they had together on the island to become proficient in the final chakra exercise Jiraiya had him do. It turns out that those exercises were essential to learning the Rasengan, a technique that the 4th Hokage created, and Naruto was able to pick it up in just 2 weeks. When the time came to finally leave the island, Naruto couldn't help but feel a little sorry for himself because he was leaving behind the one location in the world where he still felt a connection to his long-lost clan. The public area of Konoha Stadium. All the seats in the stadium were taken. It appeared that all the Leaf ninjas who weren't on gate duty or patrol rounds had come to watch the chunin exam finals on this particular day. Naturally, there were also a lot of civilians present who were interested in witnessing the most promising generation of Genin the Leaf has produced since the fabled Sannin. The remaining 9 rookies and Team Guy, who did not advance to the finals, were mixed in with the crowd. Sakura, Hinata, Tenten, Lee, Ino, and Choji were there with their senseis, Kurenai, Guy, and Asuma. Everyone was observing the enormous screen that showed the matchup for the next match while they waited for the match to begin. Arena. The participants who had won their preliminary match were positioned in the middle of the arena, along with Shiranui Genma, the new referee. Nevertheless, everyone was wondering, where the hell is Naruto? The young blonde had not yet shown up, which was fortunate because his matchup with Gaara was slated for the last time. Unexpectedly, Uchiha Sasuke, who had been training with Kakashi for the entire month, showed up. Kakashi mentioned that he didn't want to relive the pleasures of gate duty. With Sarutobi Hiruzen poised to deliver a speech at the opening ceremony of the chunin exam finals, everyone looked toward the cage box. Cage box. The cage had also come to watch his ninja compete in the finals, and the Sandame stood in the cage box. He covered his entire face, save for his eyes, with a veil while donning his cage robe. They each had a pair of bodyguards. To the thunderous applause of the spectators, Sarutobi signaled the start of the first match following his introduction. Arena. Okay, you know the drill. Everyone except Inuzuka Kiba and Hyuga Neji please leave the arena and go to the waiting room upstairs, replied Genma. After getting confirmation from both sides that they understood, Genma allowed the match to start. As they were all heading to the waiting room, Genma went over the rules with the first competitors. Essentially, the same rules from the preliminary part applied: winner by forfeit, referee decision, losing consciousness, or death. Hyuga Neji vs Inuzuka Kiba. Neji instantly activated his bloodline as Genma struck the match, saying, Byakugan. As he slipped into the Juken Taijutsu stance, he said, Ninpo. Junjin Bunshin, uttered the Inuzuka air as his familiar transformed into an exact replica of himself. Kiba communicated through hand signals, and Akamaru transformed into a second Kiba. You who injured Hinata. Chan will pay a price. Kiba uttered those words. How typical of a loser to seek comfort and revenge from another loser, but today your fate is sealed, you will lose against me, responded Neji. As Kiba saw that Neji was standing motionless and waiting, he made the decision to attack first in order to assess his opponent's level of defense. Gatsuga. As a double tornado formed by his and Akamaru's movements approached the Hyuga prodigy, he yelled. Neji waited until the very last second to unleash his counterattack. Hake Sho Kaden, he uttered as he released the chakra from each tenketsu on his body, creating a flawless ball of chakra while his body performed a repeated rotational move. With memories of his match against Choji still fresh in his mind, Kiba felt his signature jutsu countered once more and decided to try the same tactic he had against Choji, launching another jutsu. Doden. Doryu Taiga, he exclaimed as a deluge of mud erupted, covering much of the landscape, particularly the ground directly beneath Neji's feet. Then, with Akamaru still trailing him, Kiba launched another Gatsuga in Neji's direction. Neji waited until the very last second to unleash his Kaden, and Kiba was countered exactly as he had the first time, even able to discern that his mud did not slow down the Hyuga in the slightest. Loser, is that all you can do? Neji taunted, you will never get through my absolute defense. Or did you believe that your absurd strategy from the practice match would be used against me? The prodigy continued, I can execute my Kaden regardless of the condition of the ground, I could even do it while jumping. It's now my turn to attack, I've wasted enough time and chakra on you. Neji remarked coolly, you're in my circle of divination. After moving directly in front of the first Kiba, who had adopted Neji's Juken Hake Rokuju Yansho technique, Neji unleashed a flurry of Juken attacks, thereby closing most of the first Kiba's tenketsus. Kiba could only watch from his place as his companion sacrificed himself to keep his master from losing the match, and it turned out that this Kiba was the hanged Akamaru, as he dispelled himself at the end of Neji's terrifying attack. Gritting his teeth in rage, Kiba made the decision to honor his companion's sacrifice. It's all or nothing now, I'll have to use it. As he got ready for his next jutsu, he thought. Then Kiba ran over to Neji and threw a smoke bomb down at his feet. Dude, I can see right through your smoke. Neji said, getting ready to make another Kaden. Kiba called out, Gatsuga, as he began his rotational move. Kiba abruptly dispelled his jutsu as Neji activated his absolute defense. Then, while still in the air, he began to make new hand signs. Doden. Kuka no Jutsu, he said as his body turned stone and he directly attacked Neji's Kaden. Kiba was still standing with his arms crossed in front of his chest in a guard position, and as the rotation came to an end, the two opponents were still relatively close to one another. This time, however, Kiba was not driven back by the Hyuga's defense. Neji's eyes widened when he saw what was on the Inuzuka's chest. Kiba had moved his guard up to protect his face before Neji could move, and Hinata in the stands, her Byakugan activated, understood Kiba's plan and attempted to tell him to stop. Kiba.kun. Please refrain from doing this. Kiba said, I'm sorry, Hinata. Chan, as the explosive tag he had placed on his chest exploded. This time, Kiba was dispelled from his body jutsu and was bleeding profusely, even with his stone body enhancement jutsu activated. He took the full blast of the explosion point blank. Even though Neji was a little further away from the blast, his condition wasn't much better. He was bleeding heavily and couldn't even stand up. Neji didn't have time to activate his Kaden again. Kiba slowly stood back up, stopping Genma, who was about to call the match and declare a draw after realizing that none of the competitors could stand. Next, he approached the Neji that was still down. Hinata. Chan is not a loser, even though I am. She had the option to end your pathetic ass during your fight with a simple hand gesture, but she chose not to. He remarked, I am aware of your entire family. Hinata. Chan made the decision to battle you fairly, and you showed her disrespect by your words and deeds. You claim that fate decides everything in life, so when you had to face off against a member of the main house, wasn't it your fate to lose? Neji remained immobile as he went on. Just as Genma was about to announce Kiba the victor, the Inuzuka took the stadium by surprise. Carrying Akamaru's body in his arms, Kiba declared, Proctor, I forfeit. My companion is severely hurt, so I won't be able to fight properly anyway in the next match. Hyuga Neji, the winner by forfeit. Genma said as the medical professionals arrived to assist Neji. As his nephew was being taken to the infirmary, Hyuga Hiyashi decided it was time to share with him some family secrets and that it was not too late to let Neji know that fate wasn't in control of everything in life. He reasoned that it was time for the young boy to learn about his father's sacrifice and how, in the end, he too fought against his fate. Genma announced that the next match would begin after a 5-minute break, saying, Sabaku no Konkuro and Aburame Shino, please proceed to the center of the arena please. Konkuro suddenly declared, Proctor, I forfeit. The Suna Nin immediately thought, there's no way I would reveal my hand right now, we need to follow the plan and for that Gaara has to be the one who fights first. Genma declared, winner by forfeit, Aburame Shino. The audience was growing tense, so Tamari decided to act to avoid raising too much suspicion. She jumped over the fence of the waiting area and dropped into the arena, landing directly beside Genma. The Suna Kunoichi said, I think it's my turn. Genma said, Nara Shikamaru, get your ass over here. Shikamaru was on the verge of forfeiting because he didn't want to fight in the first place and thought it was very troublesome that the blonde Suna Kunoichi seemed so eager to fight. Then he remembered his mother berating him for being a lazy bum and his teammate Yamanaka Ino's faces. He slowly made his way to the arena, deciding that he'd rather get his ass kicked by the blonde woman down there than by his mother or Ino. Sabaku no Tamari vs Nara Shikamaru. Genma started the fight as soon as the two fighters were prepared. This fight was obviously a different kind from the previous one. Instead of being a contest between speed and power, it was a contest between patience and intelligence. Both ninja were adept strategists who were aware of the offensive potential of their opponent. Tamari recalled the Kajimane no Jutsu used by her opponent in his fight against the Oto Kunoichi, while Shikamaru recalled the wind jutsu used by his opponent in relation to her fan, particularly the Kameidachi no Jutsu. Both made an effort to read the other's jutsu reach and took advantage of the arena's terrain in the process. Shikamaru realized his chakra reserves were critically low as soon as he finally captured Tamari with his shadow manipulation jutsu, and he attempted to come up with a new strategy to escape that predicament. Unfortunately, after using up the majority of his chakra, he ran out of time and had to forfeit. Sabaku no Tamari is the winner of the third match, declared Genma. It was as Tamari and Shikamaru were leaving the arena that he said, the next match will start in 5 minutes. Uzumaki Naruto vs Sabaku no Gaara. When the fourth match was about to begin, the only people in the arena were Genma and Gaara. As people began to wonder where Naruto had disappeared to, Sarutobi gave him an extra 5 minutes to show up or risk being eliminated from the competition. With only 5 seconds remaining, the wind picked up suddenly, causing a giant tornado to appear in the center of the arena. A few seconds later, the wind finally disappeared, and Naruto was visible standing where the giant tornado had been moments before. Jiraiya used this as an opportunity to shin right behind Sarutobi. Jiraiya, I assume Naruto is prepared? Questioned Sandaime. He is, of course. Who do you suppose gave him his training, sensei? The hermit answered before glancing at his pupil. Am I really late? Grinning, Naruto inquired. Genma grinned and nodded for the fight to begin, saying, "You're right on time, Naruto. Get ready Naru-kun. This will be the hardest one you had to fight until now, even harder than against Zabuza," Natsuki said to him. As he assumed his Kitsune Taijutsu stance, Naruto said, "I know na, Chan. K's no Yoroi," called Naruto in his thoughts as wind chakra surged through his body. As a cloud of sand began to emerge from his gourd, Gaara remained motionless and then abruptly pointed his arm in Naruto's direction, summoning his first jutsu. He uttered, "Sabaku Q," as a wall of sand approached Naruto. Naruto used Futon, Furyuden no Jutsu, to block the wave of sand that was coming at him. After the two attacks collided in a sand explosion, Naruto called for his next jutsu through hand signals without losing any time. Futon. Sabama Geishi. This time, a wave of steel made up of several dozen kunai circled Gaara before abruptly changing course to point behind the Suna Shinobi. The sand that had been blown away by Naruto's attack moments before moved back behind Gaara to block the approaching bird of steel, and he didn't even blink. The two genuine kunai that Naruto used for his jutsu were the only ones that remained embedded in the ground behind Gaara when his attack failed to penetrate her defense, and his shadow kunai were all blocked and then dispelled. Observers. The sight of all those advanced techniques astounded everyone in the stadium, but what was even more astonishing was that nobody ever saw any of those jutsu, save for those who witnessed the preliminary fights. The redhead employed strange sand jutsu, and the blonde was using advanced wind jutsu. Neither of them appeared to require hand signals to execute them. Awaiting his turn, Sasuke was furious that he could not use his Sharingan to replicate any of those jutsu. Arena. Gaara chose to launch another Sabaku Q at Naruto after deciding to attack once more. This one, though, had a lot more chakra. Sand came at Naruto twice as fast as it had the first time, making the blonde divulge how fast he really was as he dodged all the sand strands thrown at him and reappeared behind Gaara in the stadium. A mental, Futon, Futagoke's Ken no Jutsu, was uttered as Naruto pulled out two more kunai and coated them in wind chakra. Using his Kitsune Yurei no Jutsu high-speed illusion movement, he charged at Gaara, leaving 4 trails of after images in his wake. This time, Gaara's automatic defense failed to stop Naruto's attack because she was unable to discern which approaching phantom was a fake. Naruto's blow struck Gaara in the shoulder, resulting in the first blood of the fight. The fact that someone had finally been able to hurt their weapon stunned the entire Suna delegation, but Weapon was particularly surprised because he had never known what it was like to lose his own blood as a result of an injury. Because his Sabaku Q moved much more quickly up close, Gaara was able to make Naruto fall back and drop his 2 kunai. Then, using a single hand gesture, he recalled all of his sand and used it to form a sphere around him, fully recovering him. Daisen no Mi could be heard emanating from within the smaller sand sphere that began to gather higher in the sky and quickly took the shape of an eye. Naruto had barely had time to focus on the odd eye suspended in midair when Suna Shuriken, another jutsu, was summoned from within the sphere. From the sand structure, a flurry of sand missiles was launched toward Naruto, who could only duck by dashing around. Naruto was impressed and knew how his opponent's combo operated. After being struck by the Kitsune Yurei combined with the K's Ken, Gaara strengthened his defense overall by enveloping himself in a complete sphere of solid sand. He also overcome the disadvantage of being blinded by having his third eye jutsu spy on the enemy for him. Not to be taken lightly, those Suna Shuriken were also more powerful and faster than a standard Shuriken, with a weight and density that was less. Once more, Naruto attempted his combo, charging another Kitsune Yurei with 2 new K's Ken. However, this time, the 3 illusions passed through the sand sphere without any response from it, and the structure only reacted by sending sand tendrils in the direction of the real Naruto. Naruto was countered, taking a deep cut to his right shoulder that began to bleed, so he chose to fall back to the opposite end of the arena to consider his options. His new line of defense is very impressive. It is much denser than the sand he showed me earlier, and I won't be able to use any of my wind jutsu to pierce it. A Rasengan wouldn't work either. I can't get near him as long as that sand is all around him. I should have noticed Anko Sensei's counter sooner, but alas, it was too late. If I can overcome his defense first, then I'll try the Rasengan. When he eventually figured out a way, his eyes grew wide. I need something to get rid of that sand, now for the nature of sand. He called his jutsu, Ninpo, Kuchio's no jutsu, and pushed his hands on the ground, causing a puff of smoke to appear. He then used some blood from his shoulder injury to coat his thumb and applied it to his tattoo on his forearm. A massive red dragon with Naruto perched on its back emerged from the smoke, exhibiting 4 powerful appendages and enormous wings. Jiraiya, where the hell did he get a dragon summoning contract? Sarutobi asked, looking at Jiraiya as everyone in the stands gasped at the sight of the mystical beast. He discovered it while we were training, you know where. One day he returned with the scroll and a tattoo. You'll have to ask him for details. I didn't even insist on finding out more because I was so shocked that he couldn't be the next Toad Sage, the hermit said, turning to face Naruto. I'm a fire dragon named Hiryu. How can I help you, Naruto-sama? Asked its summoner, the winged creature. I need you to launch your most powerful fireball in that mass of sand in the center of the arena, Hiryu. Naruto replied. The dragon, poised to strike, replied, it shall be done, at your command, Naruto-sama. Futon. Tenika Furyu and Dan, was the name Naruto gave his summon as they soared directly above the sand sphere. His wind dragon joined Hiryu's fireball to create a massive, chakra-powered dragon. The sand dome was struck by the jutsu, and smoke filled the entire stadium. The more seasoned ninja in the assembly realized Naruto's goal and had to applaud his strategy when the smoke cleared and a glass dome replaced the sand dome. Naruto used science and the fact that sand turns into glass when heated to a high temperature. After dispelling his dragon, Naruto leapt out and landed squarely in front of the glass building. Then, with an orb of visible chakra appearing in his right hand, he charged another jutsu that shocked everyone knowing its creator, Rasengan. He slammed it into the dome and went straight through it, surprising a stunned Gaara. When the chakra ball dissipated, an unconscious Gaara lay with his back to the wall. The chakra ball grew, then left Naruto's hand and proceeded towards the wall of the arena, pulling a screaming and bleeding Gaara with it.
That's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this great story. See you in the next one.